Have you ever been in a conversation and someone mentions a special interest that you want to talk about?
Non-stop?
But it's just a little too off topic.
Perhaps there's a random subject someone mentions in passing that you really just want to learn a little more about.
Or maybe you want to listen to some of your favorite podcasters cross over and cover something offbeat and completely unrelated to the podcast they're currently hosting.
Introducing Glitterjaw Presents, a variety podcast feed from the hosts you know,
With plenty of friends along the way.
Each Glitterjaw Presents episode will feature at least one host from a Glitterjaw show,
Covering a topic that may not be related to the shows that they host.
Or any of the Glitterjaw shows currently on our roster.
These will be standalone episodes,
Miniseries,
Odd experiments
And other special presentations on topics ranging
from music
to reality TV
to conversations about the queer media that shaped us.
and so much more.
no matter what the topic, you can expect the same quality from all of your favorite queer podcasters.
and some guests.
Talking about the things they're passionate about.
If that sounds interesting to you, make sure you subscribe to the Glitterjaw Presents feed wherever you get your podcasts.
And follow Glitterjaw on Instagram and Blue Sky to be alerted when new episodes drop.
Glitterjaw.
Glitterjaw.
Glitterjaw presents.
But their goal is to get a sense of what all of us do in the
nice too.
emergency department and portray it in a positive light.
It says nothing there about a positive light. It only talks about their rights to use my name and image in perpetuity.
So why don't you just take this in the lounge?
You know, Doctors Anspa and Morgenstern think this documentary will increase public awareness of the healthcare issues we face.
Okay, I understand that. That's fine. I'm sorry. What's your name?
Luis.
Louise. No offense, Louise. I'm not saying you're here to ambush us or do an expose, but there's nothing on this form to stop them. And if I don't sign this thing, you're wasting film right now.
It's tape. It's cheap.
Hi, I'm Aggie Orton. My husband and I are the directors.
Hi, Anna Delamiko.
Do you have some questions?
If we could just speak in the lounge for 1 second, we'll all straighten out.
Okay, sure. I'll catch you
Great.
later.
You know, Dr. Delamiko is new here.
It's fine. If she doesn't want to sign the release, we can shoot around her. Louise, if you're finished setting up, Stuart needs you.
Hey, miss, is this gonna be on TV?
It's resold to PBS.
PBS, not network?
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV, from musicals to bottle episodes to a live episode. I'm Derek B. Gale.
And I'm David Arnold.
And this episode, we're talking about ER in the episode Ambush.
Wow, if you are not familiar with ER, this is another giant one for us to talk about here on the podcast. This was a massive anchor of NBC's must-see TV Thursday night lineup that ran from 1994 through 2009 for 15 seasons and a total of 331 episodes. The series surrounds the medical professionals in the emergency room of the fictional Cook County General Hospital. The series is considered one of the best and most successful medical dramas of all time, setting a model for other medical dramas to follow. When it got to the point that it was on for so long, it was the longest-running primetime medical drama, only to be unseated by Grey's Anatomy in 2019. Grey's is up to 400 and some episodes now.
Is Grey's Anatomy still going?
I think so, yes. I'm almost certain.
Wow. All right. Have they had as many cast changes as ER had?
Yes, I think so. It's a Shonda Rhimes show, so yes, I believe so.
Oh, boy.
Derek,
man.
what is your experience with ER?
I've seen ER, but I can't say in good faith I've watched ER, if that makes sense. Because it was obviously ran for 15 seasons and was very popular. And it would come on before or after, usually after something that I was already watching. So I've caught the first few seconds of the theme song so many times. But I've obviously so much has been written about the show and talked about the show and everything. And so if you're anyone who is a TV fan, it's like you can't not know a little bit about it. Like inherently, so many stars like popped off and started here too. So like, you know, it's an unavoidable thing, but it's not a show that I ever really engage with. For me, I mean, I do consider it kind of a big weird sort of blind spot for me as a TV fan, especially a TV fan of this particular era of television. But I don't know it's going to be a thing I can ever go back and get into because I just am not a medical drama person. They just kind of bounce off of me, unfortunately, not in that I don't recognize the value in them, but in that they just usually just really stress me out and I don't enjoy them very much. Like the only one I really ever watched was House. And I think because that one was very stylish and like a detective mystery and could be kind of stupid sometimes. And even that I bailed on like halfway through.
I do think House is a lot more of a procedural than a medical drama.
Right. Right. So I can do procedurals and detective stories and things like that. So, and I think like, obviously the two routes that a medical drama can go into is either a soap opera or something like this, where it's a very realistic human drama. And in both of those cases, I think it's just sort of like, well, if I want to watch a soap opera, why would I want it to be at a hospital? I can go anywhere else for that. And if I want human drama, why would I want it to be at a hospital where I'm just going to be anxious the entire time I'm watching it? Again, I get it. And I like anxiety inducing stories sometimes, but I think that for me, like the hospital setting has always felt too real. In a way that like, even like watching this episode, it's just, all I'm thinking about is all the ways that everything I love could just end by one freak accident one day. Like I could just still continue living, but in a wildly different way where I can't do all the things that bring me any joy or satisfaction and for like one freak thing. And that is really, I mean, I think it's important to recognize in life and, internalize that to help you make decisions and things. But confronting that when I'm watching my television, is hard. And, and I know that also a lot of terrible things happen to these characters too throughout the run of it. So like, I'm just like, I get it. I like reading about this show and the production of it. It's so fascinating, but I don't think I could commit to like watching all of ER at any point in my life, even if it didn't run for 15 seasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I owned a lot of this on DVD, and at one point in time, the series kind of like it never goes off the rails, but it stops being hyper realistic and starts to just be a little bit different. And I think that's when I stopped buying the DVDs. But also, I will just say, like, popping in a DVD of ER was not like a good time. It's just it's just too much. And you're right. I kind of do want a soap opera set in a hospital, which is why so many of them are set around hospitals, but they are frequently not at the hospital. General Hospital is very rarely in the hospital.
Yeah. And this being specifically about the emergency room too, I think makes a big difference because it has to be pretty fast paced and it has to have some of the most upsetting things to ever happen like tragically and shockingly. Like that's what makes it good dramatic television. Like obviously, but I think, obviously it works for the majority of people. That's why hospital dramas are so big. That's why The Pit is such a big thing now. Yeah. But I struggle with that. And I've never quite understood what my hang up is about it. Cause I do like anxiety driven television. Sometimes I do think it maybe is just the precise level of realism. I can't get away from just the sort of existential dread of like, I can die or, lose parts of myself at any given time for no reason.
Well, and I think when you focus on doctor characters, you need patience to die. I think that's just like a natural part of storytelling. And they all do it. I mean, Scrubs does it. So like even the sitcom world has this.
Right.
I just think that's I think that is part of being a doctor or being in a hospital.
Well, for sure. But that's why I'm not. Like I've dabbled in that. Like when I was growing up for a long time, I like said that I wanted to be a doctor going in the nursing field. And I did really good in like math and science through like middle school. And it really wasn't. And I think it was just because of the ideal of like, oh, I can help people. And that sounds like a really nice thing to do with my life. And it really wasn't until high school that I was just like, fuck no. Like I didn't even have like doctor characters in fiction that I looked up to or anything. Right. And I was like, this isn't a thing that I would actually like, there's an ideal of it, but like the reality of that I don't think I'm built for that, and then I decided to become an English major. Obviously the real thing that really helps the world and actually saves lives, obviously.
I mean, it does.
But
what would be the point of living without art, Tara?
Sure. And then I did end up working in healthcare administration for a while when I was fresh out of college, like by accident. That wasn't what I studied, but just through like temp work that then got me a full-time position and stuff. And it was a horrible experience because healthcare is like a nightmare and you do have to be really committed. And that's why it's like really important to, you know, value the healthcare professionals that do exist. But like, that's a thing that like, you have to be really trained for. I think not just for the actual mechanics of performing healthcare, but to just be able to comprehend and like mentally and emotionally deal with what you're seeing. And I certainly wasn't, and I was thrown into situations that I don't think I should have been in, like clinical adjacent situations that I should not have been in when I was signing up just to work a desk job for like, you know, $13 an hour or something. Just seeing some really horrible things and like really like just seeing like naked people with open wounds that they'd show me just to like prove a point about how like this is not a patient that you admit to our private healthcare institution because their insurance isn't going to pay for this. And then people like dying constantly and like, oh, I talked to this person yesterday. They're dead now. Cool. Great. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I didn't go to school for years for this. Like I fucking was reading literature and studying movies. Why am I here right now? And so I don't know, maybe as an adult, I have a little bit of trauma about that. Cause I also think that place was just a horrible place to work, but I don't know, all of that. It's just like, again, it just all feels too real. And at the same time, so rife for drama. So it makes sense why you would make TV shows out of that stuff.
Well, and I think it was, I know that I was watching it because everyone else in my life was watching it. And that continued through college. I wasn't a appointment viewer of ER. I didn't go in every week and say like, oh, I've got to make sure I catch ER. It wasn't Alias, for God's sakes. But it was a big enough deal that by the time I went to go work for the county hospital and ER was still on, everyone was still watching it. And this was like season 14, season 15.
Oh, wow.
Like it was the end of ER, but we thought it would go on forever eternal. This was just going to be on TV.
Were the people at the hospital you were working with that watched it, were they on the administrative side more, or were they actually like doctors and nurses and
nurses, social workers like me, the psychotherapists, nutritionists, and grays, and like it's weird because you do want to get away from your job. But it's so foreign, the television environment of the hospital.
Like it's different than what it actually is. As realistic as it is, it's got to be different than the real world. Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, it always sort of is linked to that experience in my mind just because ER ended when I finished my internship at Parkland. And I worked ER, mental health ER, or what we call the psychiatric ER, and physical medicine in burns. And so I was up and down with patients just like this one in environments just like we see on the screen. And it was, I don't know, it was weird and cool and also a little surreal.
Sure. Yeah. And I do think like as unrealistic as even the most realistic mental health dramas are, I do think for the layman who is not in that universe at all, has never even thought to go into healthcare, I do think you can't come out of this stuff not having more respect for the profession and like how important not just how important these jobs are. Obviously somebody's got to be at the emergency room when you're hurt, but like how important it is to have people who are capable of doing this really, really tremendously tough stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I also think that it's just there's a part of this also where there's like a political message to most medical dramas. Even House did it. I mean,
for sure.
Even Scrubs did it. Everybody has like a message to deliver to educate the public about something. We get like a tiny bit of it even in this live episode.
Yeah.
Which was surprising.
Way.
In a weird way.
We'll have to talk about that. I'm not sure how I felt about that.
Yeah, I don't know about the aging of it, but it was important in 1997 in a way that maybe it feels very different now.
Put a pin at that.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. But I don't know. It felt like it was important that this was on, and it was important that this was delivering a message while also being pretty watchable. And I'll say maybe part of the reason we were all tuning into this is that ER did a very good job on practical effects of medicine. And that's what was missing in the soap opera. You don't see surgery on General Hospital. you see surgeons kissing, which is also great. But this was like, it's kind of like a Saw movie. Like, it's just cool effects. I don't necessarily love everything else that's going on, but it, like, in this live episode, doing practical effects for everything is really, really impressive, and it matched the tone of the series.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference, and that's a thing that, like, revisiting this, it ages so well.
Yeah.
Like, the practical effects that they have on this are really good, and it's a clever way to get, like, violence and gore onto network television, because it's sort of like, well, they're doctors, they're in an emergency room. Of course you're going to see blood all over the place. You're going to see people vomiting, and you're going to see, these like violent stabbings and stab wounds and stuff. Like, you're going to see that stuff, know? And so, like, from TV executive brain, I could sort of see being like, ooh, great, we can get we get the violence part of our sex and violence that we want on here, and no, FCC can't shut us down.
Everybody wants to see a stabbing. It's cool looking. I mean, that obviously people were showing you things that weren't necessary for you, but when I worked at the hospital, and again, I was working social work, I was mostly discharge planning, mental health, family care. But like, when we were down technicians, I had to go provide medical technical care that I did not feel qualified for. Yeah. But if someone doesn't do it, the patient may suffer or die. So
it is weird having learned that in my life, that it's just like, sometimes the people who are doing these things are actually not the most qualified ones. It's just because there's literally no one else who can, which is a little bit scary to think about, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not a CNA, I'm not a nurse, but I can start a line if it's necessary.
Right.
Like, I know enough emergency triage that I could do things, but I got called in to help a tub tech when I worked in burns, and that was like, I was never trained on tub tech. I didn't even gown properly, and so like my clothes got all wet and contaminated, and I had to take a decom shower. It was, I just spent the rest of the day in scrubs. It was a great day for me.
Wow. Okay.
The only thing I want to mention before we start to talk about the series creation is that one day before ER started, a CBS show started called Chicago Hope, and it was about a Chicago hospital. And it just blows my mind that every once in a while we'll run into something where an executive goes, we can't do that. There's too many of those shows on television. And yet in 1994, when this started, there were 2 Chicago-based hospital shows running on consecutive days of the week.
So wild. And both of them, like, critically acclaimed in different ways at different points too.
Yeah, Chicago Hope was a David E. Kelly joint, and it got, David E. Kelly towards the end. And it's funny because as soon as Chicago Hope ended, that's when ER started to get a little goofier, which I think is kind of fun.
And Chicago Hope wasn't about an emergency room specifically. It was just about a hospital, right? So,
but they were in the ER more often than you might think, So sure. And that felt like a little bit of a competing thing. I think the biggest deal of that is that ER was always doing better than Chicago Hope. And the live episode did 3 times the numbers of viewers of Chicago Hope.
Lord. And
that was sort of the beginning of the end for Chicago Hope. So this episode was the herald of the end of this CBS program.
Wow. That's so strange.
Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about the series creation. This one is credited as being created by Michael Crichton. You might have heard of it. This was bonkers to me because, of course, when I hear Michael Crichton, I think of the novel Airframe, because that's the only one of his books I've ever read. And it's I should eventually read Jurassic Park, but that is probably what he is most known for, is being the writer of Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. I'm trying to think. I think the only novel I've read 2 novels by him, I think. And I've started many. I have not read Jurassic Park. But I read the novel Prey. One about Grey Goo. I remember nothing from that novel, though, at all.
Well, that's sort of his writing style, Derek.
I remember nothing except there was, I think, a guy mad at his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife. And I also read Sphere, which I do remember very vividly.
Sphere was good.
And liked in concept, except is also another book about men being mad at a woman who's crazy. So,
I'm shocked to hear this based on my background research of Michael Crichton and the creation of the show ER, Derek. I wonder if any of that will come up again.
Needless to say, not not my favorite novelist, even though obviously the things that he's created has inspired some of the best things that have ever existed.
Thank you. Okay, so Crichton, the beginning of our story with Michael Crichton is that he is enrolled in Harvard, hoity-toity, in 1960, and he intends to become a writer, but after he has one bad meeting with a faculty member, a woman, he pivots to biological anthropology and going into medical school. He gets accepted and graduates from Harvard Medical School in 1969 and never sits for exams, never gets board certified, and never does any medicine.
Why does he ever say why he made that decision to just not do that?
Yes, because in 1968, when he was finishing up his clinical rotations, he wrote a novel and published it under a pen name and was making enough money that he was like, maybe I can be a novelist after all. And I mean, obviously he was a novelist. So like we know the end of the story. He publishes the first novel under his name in 1969, The Andromeda Strain. I've only seen the film, so it's a good film. So
I mean, many of his books make good
yeah,
movies.
that's exactly right.
So.
In 1970, though, before all of the med school sort of seeped out of his brain, he publishes a book called Five Patients. It's a non-fiction book. So I guess I have read 2 Michael Crichton books because I read this for this conversation. I have read probably a dozen of these books in my life. They are just case studies. They are simple case studies, but it is kind of like watching an episode of ER because it centers the doctor's experience interacting with these 5 case studies.
Right.
And this novel essentially becomes the pilot for a show that he is pitching called EW, The Emergency Ward.
Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah, I know. Good whoever noted this and was like, ER is a better name.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Way better name. EW. Ew. Like what?
You, David. But the name of the pilot script is 24 Hours. That is the name of the pilot when it eventually makes its way to ER. And he's like putting this around. So he wrote it in 1972, the pilot treatment. He can't sell it to anyone. No one's interested in it. And he's like, fine, whatever. I'll just keep writing novels and be a wildly successful novelist. In 1990, he publishes Jurassic Park. Steven Spielberg says, I'd like to turn this into a movie. Crichton says, while you're here, I have this script about an emergency room. Do you think we can help get it made? And Steven Spielberg is like, yeah, Amblin Entertainment will make this. Let's make it happen.
Nice. I mean, hey, use your connections, man. That's a great lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Like you got one person in your pocket. Don't be afraid to ask for that second favor. Yeah.
This is where Amblin assigns John Wells to the project, and John Wells is the executive producer, showrunner for the first 6 seasons of ER. He'll go on to run The West Wing. He does a lot of other great work. Wells' sort of like guidance for the very beginning is, hey, all of your doctors are white men, and you're treating them a little bit differently than the female characters. What can we do to write and improve this? And so they change the gender of one of the characters, and they make Eric LaSalle be, Benton and be black. The first script, the only female doctor is just sexually harassed her entire shift. It's not,
you know what?
It's
Makes
not better.
For Michael Crichton. Yep.
Yeah.
It's, feels like a thing he was particularly interested in his writing.
By the time we get to season 4, Crichton's not really around anymore. It's interesting. He's on a lot of the special features of season 1 of the DVDs and then never again. So I don't know if it was just I'm Michael Crichton, I've got books to write, or he started to have failing health. He obviously does pass away in 2008 during ER's final season.
Yeah. Well, and running a TV show or even if just as in like a consultant capacity or whatever it's a very different experience, and I mean, I could understand not wanting to commit to this.
Yes.
Who knows? I'm curious. I wonder how much he really even did during the first season other than just like have his name on there and just like be around for interviews,
I was a little surprised because there's a lot of behind the scenes for this episode, and like Spielberg shows up for the second taping, and Michael Crichton nowhere to be found.
Wow, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Crichton continues to like haunt the world because his estate, run by his widow, is sort of like very protective of all of his properties. including that they're having an ongoing lawsuit with the production of The Pit, which they consider to be an unauthorized ER reboot, despite the fact that it is a very different show.
But wasn't the original idea, the pitch for it, like, what if we did Noah Wyle in another ER? Though?
Yeah. And what if Carter was like sort of worn down by working at the ER, which is sort of Dr. Robbie's character on The Pit. I see it, and you know what? That is an issue for corporate people. I don't...
Right.
Like...
Also, to be fair, you're allowed to have more than one medical drama, and Noah Wyle can play more than one doctor. So, like...
Thank you.
I mean, there's bound to be similarities, so it's kind of funny.
And I just also got to say... Weird. The Michael Crichton estate, you have enough money. Like, I just think...
Yeah, that too. I'm not exactly rooting for that.
No.
Like, come on, guys, it's fine.
But I'm not rooting for HBO or whatever the fuck that is these days.
Oh, that's actually a good point. Oh, I think I want both of them to lose.
Yeah, I hope everyone loses.
Yeah, actually, is there a way that could happen? I guess the only way for that to happen would be for The Pit to get canceled, which is not what I'm asking for because I know people love that show.
Yeah.
So.
That show's got great practical effects. That's the promise ER made is delivered in like really good practical effects on The Pit.
As it should. I do feel like that is a reason to come to a show like that.
Yeah.
So.
The NBC tradition. It began with Hill Street Blues. Then there was L.A. Law. 1 week from Monday, NBC presents the next landmark television drama.
How dare you speak to you treat your child like this? He's a little kid.
From Michael Crichton, author of Jurassic Park, comes ER.
You're just a resident. What do you want to do? You want to wait? This guy could die while we're out here discussing.
Continuing the tradition, ER previews 1 week from Monday on NBC. NBC Thursday, the #1 drama.
Ready, camera 3.
Goes live.
Stand by. Here we go. Online.
One night.
Ready, camera 2.
Unfolding before your eyes.
And 3.
Anything can happen.
2. 1.
Anything.
Oh my God!
ER season premiere live NBC Thursday.
Well, the episode we are talking about of ER is season 4, episode 1, entitled Ambush. Is this the first time we've covered a season premiere? No, it's not. It's certainly not.
Oh, no, because we did the Maniac Mansion.
But that was the first episode of the show. Is this the first time we've covered a season premiere?
I think it is. It's interesting because it's not the only live episode season premiere that we could eventually get to, but I think that might be...
What's the other one?
There's a Will and Grace that started their season with a live episode.
That was their season premiere. That's, I mean, it makes sense conceptually when you think about it, I guess, but it is still fascinating.
But I think it's hard for a show to... I mean, I think it's bold for a show to choose to do a gimmick-worthy episode for their first episode of the season.
Yeah.
And maybe outside of a live episode, this is like the safest version of a gimmick that you could do for your season opener.
But the live episode thing does make sense because it gives you plenty of rehearsal time and everything like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's still, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
The original air date for this was September 25th, 1997. The synopsis per IMDb is, while a film crew is filming in the ER, it's Elizabeth Corday's first day.
Oh, Derek. I have so much to say about Elizabeth Corday this episode.
Can I add to this, though?
Please do.
Because when I saw this when I was watching it on streaming, so the description that exists on both Hulu and Disney Plus for this episode, I think takes this to a whole other level. Because their description is, a video crew invades the ER to make a documentary about Dr. Green and his coworkers. Okay.
Great.
Semicolon. A new staff member uses unfamiliar medical terms.
You know, I feel bad because when I write the show notes for our conversation, sometimes you just got to condense a really complicated thing into one line. And later in the show notes, it just says, Elizabeth Corday arrives. She's British. Because that's her story in this episode.
It really is like, isn't it weird that British people say things that are different?
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally it.
That's her storyline.
That is the introduction. That is wild to me that this is the character introduction of Alex Kingston is bringing her in to a live episode of your show and your season premiere. And her character is, she's British.
Are you a resident in the UK? Well, I'm afraid it's a different system altogether. I'm an FRCS, which is a Fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons and a lecturer. That's roughly the equivalent of your senior surgical residents, but not really, because I have 6... I'm sorry, you can't possibly be interested in this.
She's British.
That's it.
Yes. And Corday is like a big player in the ER world.
She's on the show for a very long time, right? Yeah, and this is what if you don't know her from like Doctor Who, this is probably what you know her from.
I imagine that there was a conversation somewhere. I could find no confirmation on this. This is just me guessing. But I imagine there was a conversation somewhere in which was like, could we just have her come in on episode 2? And someone was like, no, we paid for Kingston this entire season.
Sure.
You will put her in this episode.
Probably is exactly what it is. Honestly, it probably is. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a shame because it's awkward. I think she's great, even in this episode, but
she's great, but she just kind of gets in the way. Like, the only thing that I like about it is the idea that like it is someone's first time as a series regular and it is a live episode. And I do think it's it's basically sort of like trial by fire. If you have any doubts about this being a good actress, like, she's doing this, so obviously can't be that bad.
Well, and I'll say, like, Corday and all the guest cast, like, they're all sort of on the same page. Yeah, she'll start, like, Kingston will stay around, but the guest cast just came in for this. Like, this is...
That's true, yeah.
This is all they're doing. And they have to do a lot of big lifting for this episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The writer on this one is Carol Flint. She wrote on China Beach, LA Law, and Earth 2 before joining the ER writer's room. She wrote 15 episodes of ER, and Ambush is her 9th of 15. She goes on to be a producer for The West Wing, where she also writes the season 5 episode No Exit. So if we ever wanted to go back to The West Wing, there are a couple choices. One of them is her episode.
Okay.
Then she's a producer on The Unit, 6 Degrees, Designated Survivor, and Instinct. She had a lot to say in some of the behind the scenes, what I thought was fun. One of the things she confirmed was there were scripted, quote, mistakes that were part of the episode in order to sort of like make it so that if you were an eagle-eyed viewer, you'd be like, oh, she flubbed a line. But in fact, that is in the script. And so if they accidentally flubbed something later, it wouldn't feel so jarring.
I was wondering about that because I mean, the fact that it's in the script, I think, is really interesting to me. I was thinking more in terms of like direction, because there's certain points when like, because they have I think when we talk about the gimmick, one of the more interesting parts about it is like framing the live episode as a documentary episode. Yes. So it allows characters, they will have characters early, like there's a point very early in the episode where Eric LaSalle like bumps into the cameraman. Yes. And like, it's definitely intentional because you can see it on both the East Coast and West Coast versions. So it's like, oh, they're putting it there to make it clear that this is a thing that can happen because in universe there are cameras, which means that if it does happen by accident in the episode and they just bump into the real cameraman when they weren't supposed to, you just assume it's meant to be in the episode.
Right.
Like, I think they're very calculated decisions to kind of cover for anything, which is really smart.
Yeah. And then this one is directed by Thomas, or he goes by Tommy Schlamme. He's a prolific television director and producer. He is selected to direct this episode because he's already directed a couple episodes of ER, and he had done live television before. So that is why he's being picked.
Makes sense.
Notably, the start of Schlamme's career is that he directed the 1981 I Want My MTV advertising campaign for Fred Siebert, which I believe we've talked about a couple times on this podcast.
I think so, yeah.
Then he directs some variety shows, and then he does some films, including he's the director of So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is bonkers to me. Then he does a ton of television. He's on Friends, Mad About You, Ally McBeal, before joining ER. In those episodes and in those episodes of ER and in his sitcom work, there were some longer shots, but this is like, this is pulling on his live television experience.
Of course. Right. Yeah, because I mean, you can only have so many cuts when your episode is meant to be performed live. So yeah, makes sense.
After this, in 1998, he links up with writer Aaron Sorkin for Sports Night, which he directs the first 9 episodes of, and then he works with Sorkin in 1999 to start The West Wing, and this is where Schlamme's walk and talk is established, and I think you can see a little bit of it in this episode.
Absolutely. I was definitely getting some West Wing vibes from this, which makes sense. It's a smart way to have, I mean, you literally in this episode have to have not just the characters, but also the actors traveling from one location to another. And rather than have to script in a completely different scene to pan over to or something, you can just follow them as they walk and talk down the hallway and just do it very dramatically in that dramatic walk and talk style.
Exactly. Shalby says he gave no notes to the actors between the two airings. The only thing he tried to fix between the East Coast presentation and the West Coast presentation was some technical changes, sound mixing, which I don't think got fixed in either of the airings.
Interesting.
And that a cameraman like got a wire stuck in the East Coast thing, and they were really trying to figure out how to fix it for the West Coast airing because it never happened during rehearsal.
Oh, what do you mean a wire stuck exactly? Like it gets tangled or something?
Yeah, it got tangled and like he couldn't get the shot the way they never got it. It was wrong in the West Coast version too.
That's so funny that like it was fine in rehearsal. Wow.
Never happened in rehearsal, so they didn't have even a plan B. And
right.
every interview about this was like, we had a plan A, a plan B, and if shit really hit the fan, we had a recorded rehearsal that we could play from tape.
Yeah, that part is fascinating to me. That it's smart. Again, it's smart, but like how much of a how upsetting would it have been, and how much of a failure would it have been to be like, well, we got to just air the rehearsal.
Yeah.
We couldn't do this, you know?
And I think from the sound of it would have had to been like, there were the building caught on fire. Like just something,
right.
They would only go to it if it was an emergency situation.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this cast.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's a huge cast. So we can just stick to, I think, the series regulars. And then I did want to shout out the,
sure. There's a handful of people in
yeah.
here. I mean, that's the thing about ER that's so funny is that like every so often you just run into be like, oh yeah, this actor was also in ER. Oh yeah, this actor also in ER. Oh, this like famous A-list celebrity, they were just a guest in ER once. Like, yep. That's how
they had a
is.
hangnail. No big deal. Just
no, there's a couple O's in this episode.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we can start with top bill. That's Anthony Edwards, who's Dr. Mark Green. I will say, funny from our conversation last episode about Friends, that Dr. Green's wife is named Rachel. So on Thursday nights on NBC, there were 2 Rachel Greens on television for a period of time.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Weird.
His first recurring role was as the teenage son on It Takes Two, which only ran for 1 season in 1982-83. Then he's on films. Obviously, he's Goose from Top Gun. He was also one of the nerds on Revenge of the Nerds, a series a film I'm not familiar with, but he was with the franchise.
You're good.
Okay, solid. Great. Happy about that. But he's been in 180 episodes of ER. This is probably the thing that Anthony Edwards is most known for, unless you're a big Top Gun head. He's still acting. He was most recently in that WeWork series called We Crashed in 2022 as one of the main characters.
I mean, and he's kind of positioned in a lot of ways as like the main character at this era of the show. Right?
Yeah.
Like I know that, you know, it's an ensemble, and I know you have like Noah Wyle as your audience surrogate, you know, hero character, but I feel like that's more after Anthony Edwards leaves the show that really happens, right?
You're absolutely right, because Noah Wyle was supposed to be a surgeon, and you're watching, like, this episode is about him sort of realizing he doesn't want to do that and dealing with the fallout. And it won't be until Anthony Edwards leaves that Noah Wyle sort of takes over, and then he passes the torch as well when he leaves the show.
Yeah, right.
You're absolutely right. This is Dr. Green's show. This is the show about Dr. Green.
Yeah, and I mean, this episode is kind of about him, and then everyone else is kind of through the lens of what he's going through, which is fascinating. Yeah, yeah. But speaking of, like, you know, big A-list celebrity that started about ER, George Clooney as Dr. Doug Ross. Yeah. When did we bring this up? How did we bring up the fact that George Clooney started on another show also called ER, but E/R, that was a sitcom, also about a Chicago emergency room?
I think there was somebody who was a guest cast on it, and that was like their first TV role. We brought it up, and I was like, oh my God, when we talk about ER, I can't forget to bring this up.
Yeah. So if you didn't listen to whatever episode we talked about that in, it was pretty recently, I think.
Pretty recent.
Yeah. George Clooney, before he was on ER, the medical drama about a Chicago emergency room, he was on ER, a sitcom about a Chicago emergency room, which is just such a weird thing to have happened in the world.
Yes. It's insane to me, honestly. And I mean, I have watched E/R, which is the way that it is written. And I think the only way I can get my mind around these two things existing in the world. Elliot Gould is good in it. Everyone else is sort of forgettable, including George Clooney. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's not, I think, the best. I mean, it didn't succeed, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah. That's just, it's so weird. So weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he does a lot of TV. I think, you know, he was getting to be recognizable if you saw him on like Facts of Life, and especially Roseanne. I really liked him on Roseanne.
Me too.
He was on Sisters and Bodies of Evidence. So like, it wasn't like he was coming into ER as a nobody or anything. He was very recognizable, but as a TV person, as a recurring TV star, essentially.
Right.
But ER is what makes him the George Clooney you know and love today.
This is when he meant, I didn't put this in the notes, but this is when it's season 2 when he wins Sexiest Man Alive, for example.
Of course.
Yeah, everyone loved Doug Ross. I like George Clooney. Doug Ross is the worst character on ER. We don't need to spend so much fucking time with a pediatrician. It's an ER.
But he's hot, David.
He is hot.
So whatever.
I hate that this is true for me because I really do prefer modern era George Clooney, but he does look good in a set of scrubs.
He is, and I do think you need, even in like this episode, like you need that little dose of like levity.
Yes.
From just like your hot. Like I know he's not a himbo because he's literally a doctor, but like definitely meant to kind of be that energy, and like, you know, and the romance stuff and everything.
Yeah.
That was a big part of this show too.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it would be weird to say it's kind of like him and Juliana Margulies are kind of like the Jim and Pam of this show.
Yes.
Where it's like, not really the best characters, but like the romantic anchor of the show that you're supposed to root for.
And I think that they really want, and I love Margulies as well, so I think they work really well together. And then Clooney leaves and Margulies has like nothing to do as Hathaway, so she leaves too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's after this that he starts being in films, though, and like it's weird to me to think about a time that George Clooney wasn't in films, because until ER, he had really just done a couple of like movies and not as a star, and then he's Dusk Till Dawn. He's fucking Batman. I mean, it's Batman and Robin Batman, which I think is the best Batman, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that. I think he's got a good sense of humor about that too. So, you know.
Yeah. But like, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? One of the most artistic and beautiful films ever made. Perfect Storm, which I maybe forgot about until I saw it in his IMDb credits, but it was a big deal that he was in that stupid boat movie. And then he's, you know, Danny Ocean. Like that, and then it's sort of over for him.
Yeah.
He's film and Nespresso star for life.
Aw, poor George Clooney.
Poor George Clooney. We then have Noah Wyle as John Carter. This, as Derek said, is the audience surrogate. This is the one that you're supposed to be like, oh, you don't know what a line is? Which, by the way, you should know by now. It's wild. I rewatched the pilot, and he is so dumb to be an intern. He's too dumb. This is the himbo character.
Really funny. Okay, that makes sense. But I do think it's funny to have like your audience surrogate literally be like a med school student.
Yes.
Like it's just like, just your everyday guy. Everyone can relate to a med school student.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I guess that was True Davies, wasn't it? So, you know, she's one of the best characters ever put on screen.
That's honestly the truth. Not enough going to a morgue in the ER, if I'm being honest.
That's true.
Needed that more.
No time travel either. It's weird.
What a shame. ER was Noah Wile's breakout role. He stayed on with the series until season 11, and then he was sort of guest cast for season 12, and then he is the biggest. Everyone returns in season 14 and 15. Every single person, including Anthony Edwards, whose character died, everybody comes back for the end. But he has the biggest comeback in 15, which is part of why, if you were going to continue the series, it probably was Carter's story to keep telling. But afterwards, he is main cast in The Falling Skies, which is a series I've never seen, despite it looking extremely like my shit. The Librarians, same story. Leverage Redemption, and then most recently The Pit.
Yeah, I have not seen any of those, actually, funny enough. Even though I agree with you, I think I would have been into some of those for sure.
I just don't think I turned to TNT for my sci-fi, and maybe that was my mistake.
Oh, that's a big part of, I do think that's a big part of that. That's a big part of it. I remember like The Librarians running and being intrigued by it and just never took the dive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One day.
And we have Juliana Margulies as Carol Hathaway, the only actor of this entire show that won an Emmy for this show, right?
Yes.
Like, I know everyone was nominated like 1,000 times.
Yes.
But she's literally the only one who actually won one, which is bananas to me.
Yes, I think there was a guest Emmy too, but I can't remember.
Oh,
who.
really?
But main cast
With
it was
only
just
main
Mark.
cast
Yeah.
member.
Yeah, main
which
cast
is just
Mark.
bananas when you've got a cast with like George Clooney and, and shit on it.
But she's really, really good. And Hathaway, honestly, except being written very sexistly in the first couple episodes, Hathaway is a great character in the first five seasons of ER.
Sure. And I know that the story behind her is that like she was only cast as just like a bit part in the pilot, was supposed to die, but because she really hit it off, they decided to make her a full-time regular. And, and like she didn't die in the pilot. So.
Yes, this was another Wells decision of like, we can't let this talent go. She's too good.
Yeah, it's wild. She got started as a guest actor on Law & Order and Murder, She Wrote in 1993, as many actors do.
Yeah.
But ER, like we said, it ends up being her breakout. They aren't casting her to be a series regular. She's so clearly works in the pilot that they make her a regular, and then becomes kind of the de facto female lead for like the first 6 or so seasons. After that, she has a run on The Sopranos. I think she's on in 4 episodes towards the end of The Sopranos. She's the good wife after that for the entire run.
Yes.
Like the titular good wife. That is her show. Did you ever watch The Good Wife? I never actually did.
No. I like Christine Baranski, so I watched The Good Fight, which is in the same universe.
Sure.
But I like Julia Margulies, so why haven't I watched The Good Wife? One day I'll get to it.
Yeah. More recently, she seduces Reese Witherspoon on The Morning Show, apparently.
It's very hot. I don't know how much of The Morning Show you've watched.
None, zero. I don't really know anything about it other than I've heard mixed things though. I don't hear blanket good things about that show.
No, it becomes hot garbage, but you get Juliana Margulies seducing Reese Witherspoon and it's really hot.
Sure.
Because mother may I, like The Good Wife, I wish.
I could see that. And she still looks really good too.
She looks great. And she's sort of like a journalist in the show, and it's I think journalists are hot characters, just kind of period.
Sure.
In this episode, we've got Gloria Rubin as Dr. Jean Boulet. ER is her breakout role. She is in 102 episodes. She leaves in season 5. She is in after this, she's in the first season of a Canadian show called 1-800-Missing, which had never come across my notes before. And then
it's an awful name for a show.
It is a terrible name for a show, but it does feel very grounded in like early 2000s, doesn't it?
It also feels very Canadian to me for some reason. I don't know why, but like it feels like a Canada show.
Then she's sort of like, she's TNT girly for life. She's on Raising the Bar. She joins Noah Wiley on Falling Skies. She's main cast on Cloak and Dagger. She's main cast for a little while on Mr. Robot. She's just sort of living there, which is great.
Interesting.
It's weird to me because I know Laura Innes for being in Deep Impact. But Laura Innes plays Dr. Carrie Weaver.
Oh my God. That's right.
But anytime I see her, I think, oh my God, she was in Deep Impact. She's like Taya Leone's boss.
Yeah, that's so funny. I forgot she was in that.
ER is Innes's breakout role as Dr. Carrie Weaver. She's in 249 of these episodes from season 2 through season 14.
So she's going to have one of the longer runs of the cast.
Yeah.
Wow.
She has one of the longer continuous runs, but she wasn't in season 1, which is like very important for ER discussion lore things. Weaver, while she didn't take home any acting Emmys, she did receive awards for a representation of a character with a physical disability, which until this point in time had not been as broad on television. Laura Innes does not have a limp in real life.
And she eventually comes out, right?
Yes.
She comes out as I know that she probably should be bi, but I think she comes out as a lesbian.
Yes.
Right, at a certain point.
Yes. Which was a big deal for the show at the time. But
it's very Willow Rosenberg, like another redhead who definitely was attracted to men for a while, who then like comes out in a really great way, but then it's like fully gay now because bisexual people don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the 90s and early 2000s loved that shit, man. And it's always a redheaded woman. I don't know why that keeps happening.
That's fair. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And she's a little broken. And she was in love with kind of a weird dude on ER, like Willow was in love with Sander. Like it does.
So funny. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
find that fascinating.
Most recently, Innes was on a recurring role on How to Get Away with Murder.
Maria Bello as Dr. Anna Delamico. I've got to say, I had no idea she was on this, and I don't know that I remember anything she did in this episode, and that I learned that she was only on this show for like maybe like one season and a couple of other episodes.
Yeah.
Like this is really her only season as a regular. I find that really fascinating.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's no drama behind it. I just don't think the character ended up working, and you just didn't continue.
Yeah. Yeah. Before this, she was Mrs. Smith in the 1996 Mr. and Mrs. Smith series with Scott Bakula. And then after this, she joins the cast of NCIS.
Yeah. Get your paycheck, girl.
Yeah.
I don't think she's bad. I think she's given a weird plot in this story, which is
what does she do in this episode?
She's the blonde who's like, I'm not going to sign the release. Okay, I signed the release. That's her whole story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't remember. She doesn't do anything.
And
All
I
right,
think
cool.
if you just read the script, you might be like, oh, what we need here is a character to like sell again that this is a documentary, and that's what Delamico has to do.
But literally anyone could have done that at any time in like one or two lines in the middle of everything else. So that's the one thing to make like the entire character's role be.
Yeah. Well, and that's the story of Dr. Delamico, which is why she's not in season 5 forward.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But also speaking of this episode giving one person literally one thing to do that doesn't matter, the great Alex Kingston as Elizabeth Corday, who obviously, you know, she's a great actress. I know she's on ER for a very, very long time. This is her first episode, and then she stays on through season 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, that's where I think she's probably the most recognizable from television, but if you don't recognize her from ER, like I said earlier, she becomes River Song on Doctor Who and is, you know, on that show, you know, in a recurring role across many seasons and across many doctors, which is, you know, a rarity for that show to have like the same character carrying over through so many different iterations. And she's a very iconic character from the modern era of that show.
Yeah, and I think if you can get her, Kingston is a fantastic actor, so why wouldn't you
she's
keep
good.
getting her back?
Absolutely. Apparently, she's most recently on the BritBox show Secret Service.
Yeah. All I know is that this service, BritBox, gets advertised to me every time I watch an episode of Jeopardy. And really? I see her every day. Every day I see Alex Kingston because they'll show this clip from Secret Service.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, me neither. And I'm not going to pay for another streaming service that only shows me British television. I don't need that. Rounding out the main cast is Eric LaSalle as Dr. Peter Benton, the surgeon. He's background and guest on a couple dozen shows, LA Law, Quantum Leap, almost all the soaps, before the breakout role of Dr. Benton on ER. He's on for 171 episodes through season 8. He was afterwards a recurring character on the Under the Dome series based on the Stephen King novel. And then most recently, he was the recurring role as a sergeant of a police force on an Amazon series called On Call.
Okay.
Didn't watch it. I apologize, listeners.
No, I'm good.
I don't want to watch a cop drama.
On Amazon Prime.
On Amazon Prime.
I'm good. It's fine.
Sorry, Eric LaSalle.
Yeah. This is also an interesting one, not part of the main cast, but an important guest character. Like, obviously there's tons of guest characters in this in this episode that's packed with a lot of people in general, but the most prominent one that's kind of the driving force of it is Lisa Edelstein as Aggie Orton. She plays like the director of this documentary in this. So I know, and they even, I think it's funny that like they reference that she's like married to like either the co-director or producer. I forget if they're what his role is, but like you never see him. You only see her the entire time. She's the face. So she is basically really the representative of this entire documentary. So it's a very important role that she's playing in this, but it's interesting because then later on she becomes very well known as Dr. Lisa Cuddy in House, another medical drama years later.
And she was doing all the NBC shows around this time, so it makes sense that she would come up as casting. Tommy Schlamme was so impressed with what Edelstein did for this episode that when it came time to sort of make The West Wing, he was like, I have this perfect actor. We've got to put her in. And she is in 5 episodes of the first season as Rob Lowe's love interest and like a fan favorite character.
Wow, that's funny. I mean, she's really good. I like her
really
in
good.
anything I've ever seen her in. And she, you know, she just randomly will pop up and stuff sometimes too. So she's always good to watch.
Yeah. It was shocking seeing her and hearing her voice because I do know her as Laurie from The West Wing.
And I know her as Lisa Cuddy.
Yeah.
So Or Lisa Cuddy.
Yeah,
oh wow,
Cuddy.
That never occurred to me.
Yeah.
That her character has the same first name as she does in real life. I knew that, but it just like never clicked in my brain. That's so funny.
You know, it happens a lot, and I hate it every time it happens.
I think it works sometimes, but sometimes it's sort of like just change your character's name if you cast an actor with the same first name. It's
freaking me out.
The gimmick of this episode, a live episode, the first time that we have done this, but like it's been on the list since the beginning of gimmicks. Like that was on my original list when starting the podcast, even though I knew I had very little experience with ER. I was just like, the live episode of ER is like an important, well-known one in television. So, this has been a long time coming. Obviously, the idea of, performing things live or live television is not new. It's not like ER invented this. Like in the wider history of TV, especially all TV was once live, right? Like,
right.
The way the performing arts started was like performing live on stage. It makes sense that the idea of like airing things live, like would be sort of the first way that you would use television, right? The use of videotape meant that most programs moved away from live broadcasts in the 1960s and 1970s, though.
Because tape was now more available. But it wasn't as cheap as it would get, and that is why soap operas were like the last holdout, because they were doing so much that it was too expensive to tape most soap operas for a while, and then the technology got so cheap that it was like everyone to film and tape.
That means that, like, obviously live television outside of stuff like Saturday Night Live or something like that,
yeah,
those types of things obviously still exist. But the idea of a scripted series being performed live, that naturally falls out of style.
Right.
So at a certain point, when we get to a point when like a scripted show, if they want to do, say, a gimmick to get media attention, they'll be like, I don't know, what if we just broadcast this live? It makes people feel like they're going to the theater. It makes people feel like they have to sit down and watch it right then, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime event that you can watch what the actors are actually doing in real life at the same time as you're watching them on screen. It gives you the effect of seeing a play live, except it's on your television.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it totally makes sense, right? And, ER is exactly that. It was event television. It was like, you have to see this ER episode as it's airing because we are literally performing it while you're watching it. And isn't that cool?
Yeah. One of my favorite things that Noah Wiley said in the behind the scenes was, it's like turning in to watch NASCAR. Yeah, you want to see who wins the race, but you don't want to miss the car crash. And so we felt like everyone was watching so that we might fuck up. And that's like why people were tuning in. But I don't think he's wrong.
No, yeah. But even, I mean, I know that the car crash thing, that's a funny way to put it. I understand, because some of what you're looking for is the potential for mistakes and things like that. But like, most people, I know some big nerds do. Most people don't watch football games on tape or whatever.
Right.
They prefer to watch it live.
Yeah.
They're only watching it on tape if they absolutely have to.
Right. Yeah.
Like, most people are like, I want to be there with everyone else. It's like a communal experience. Even if you're not literally in the room with other people, you know that you're watching it with the rest of America or with the rest of the world or whatever. And there is something really satisfying about that. And it does feel like you're like, I know it's silly to be like you're experiencing a piece of history, but you are. That's a one-time experience you can have of, I'm watching this as it's happening in real life, and any other time that I watch it, it's not going to be the same, because you're going to be watching it out of time. That moment will pass once it's passed. That's the beauty of anything performed live, Yeah.
Yeah. And NBC made a big deal about doing this,
as they should have. Sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they did it. It did pay off. But if I recall correctly, some of it was like, we just invented this technology for the first time ever.
Oh,
and
that's silly.
Okay, well, you didn't. The Today Show is live, so calm down.
Right. Yeah, look, you know what NBC also airs? A show called Saturday Night Live. to be clear, obviously, like the Today Show and SNL are different scenarios because they're shows that were from the get-go built to be live.
Right.
They're like Today Show. They're just people, you know, they're performers in a way, but they really are just people who are just good at talking to the camera and talking to other people, you know, and like SNL, they are performing on a stage for a live audience. And part of the fun of SNL is knowing that this is stuff that had to be hastily rehearsed.
Right.
And sometimes might be a little bit janky or clunky, and sometimes they might break, and you're kind of watching it to see that, but also watching it to see people who are good at performing on stage. A TV show, they're not necessarily people who are coming from a live theater or live television background. They're not necessarily people with the skills or were cast to be able to act live. Like some of these people might like have a really hard time learning lines, and you can get around that when you're filming a regular TV show and only filming one scene at a time. You can't really not learn all of your lines if you're filming all of it live, you know? And also like, they're not just on a stage or on like, you know, one open set that was built to just have one, like just built to have a few cameras pointed at it. This is a show that is filmed like a single camera drama where your camera is following you around and with very complicated sets, with very complicated action, with lots of actors at every possible angle, you know, like it's meant to be a complicated show. So to have this, something like this, that's already complicated with practical effects and things like that, where they're supposed to be like, if one of these actors laughed and after they flubbed a line in the middle of a scene, it would ruin it. You can do that on SNL. You can do that on the Today Show.
Right.
You can't do that in this. You know, the stakes are higher in a weird way. So like the challenge is also what makes it so interesting and fun for them and satisfying to watch as an audience when they are able to pull it off.
Yeah. Yeah, and the blooper reels for ER are Juliana Margulies cracking up like for hours and hours on end. So I think there was one person in particular who was very concerned about ruining takes, and it was Margulies.
She doesn't.
She doesn't. She's great. She does it perfect.
Yeah.
Well, despite all of the sort of hubaloo that went into promoting this was not the first instance of a scripted television program doing a live episode as a one-off in the newer era of television. I believe, from my background on this, that belongs to the episode Cat Story from the Lackman-Rosen NBC sitcom Gimme a Break that aired February 23rd, 1985.
And that was probably the first time that there's been a live episode of a show that wasn't meant to be filmed live.
Yeah. That's from the best I can tell. There are some soap operas that did a live episode for their like 2000th, 3000th episode. Mm-hmm. But like all soap opera background, like it's impossible to find information about old episodes of soap operas. Like unless somebody wrote very specifically about it, it's like an errant message.
Well, and that's cool, but it also, I do think, is a different scenario for soap operas. And this isn't meant to be like demeaning or degrading soap operas, but they are built to be shows that are rapidly filmed to come out like 5 days a week. That is a different scenario than a show that is built to only have like, you know, 22 to 25 episodes a season with like long breaks in between or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's a different scenario. You're kind of have different types of actors, and there's a different caliber of acting and a different caliber of quality you're expecting from even a sitcom versus a soap opera, you know?
Yeah. So the Give Me a Break episode happens. It's not particularly effective at getting new viewers. And so this sort of sits on a shelf for a while. The next time we see it pop up for a scripted show is the Fox sitcom Rock. And that aired in the early 90s, 91 through 94.
Okay.
And in its first season, they had a live episode called The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
That's a good title.
Yeah. It was the series high viewership of the first season. And so they went to the cast, who were all stage actors, and they said, season 2, we want to do every episode live.
That's... I appreciate the swing of that.
It's a big swing.
But that's a weird thing to like thrust on your cast. I hope they were excited about that.
They seemed to be, because they were all like stage actors. Like, all of them had acted together before in August Wilson plays. So,
and was that already a multicam sitcom? Like,
yes.
On front of a live studio audience anyway. So like, it's not that
proscenium
different than
stage.
what you would be doing anyway. Yeah. So that makes sense. You know, Like you couldn't do that with ER, but you could do that with
Right.
a multicam sitcom like that.
Yeah. And so they tried it. It did not result in them having more viewers. They went back to the old model for season 3 and then the show got canceled.
That's so weird.
But
That's really weird.
this seems to have Rock doing it. It seems to be the thing that put it in everyone's minds, because every other example in the modern television era of a scripted show doing a live episode came after this and sort of iterated upon what started with Rock.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, everyone had a live episode, but it turns out there actually are not that many of these.
Sure. That makes sense.
I thought there were a ton because Drew Carey did one, Will and Grace did one, ER did one, 30 Rock did one. I just kind of assumed the list would keep going, but that was kind of the end of the list.
Yeah, but I mean, you do have to make sure that you have people who are like, it's still a hard thing to pull off no matter what.
Yeah.
So makes sense.
There's a couple other examples that pop up. The third Rock for the Sun Super Bowl episode, they did a live opener so that they could talk about the game.
That's clever. That is very clever. That's very clever.
And then the rest of the show was a very good episode of Third Rock from the Sun.
Right.
On a anniversary episode of Coronation Street, they did a live episode, and it featured Prince Charles.
Whoa.
Now King of England.
Interesting.
So I guess it's just interesting that sometimes a live show stands on its own, and then sometimes it's part of another thing, or a live bit is part of another thing.
I mean, even this technically, I know it's not part of, I know you're talking about like being part of other events, but like, technically this episode does kind of live and die on it also being a documentary.
That's true.
Episode.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, I think
like, I don't think they could pull it off if they didn't have the documentary filter over all of it.
I agree, because I think it would be too weird, and you have to sort of acknowledge that the
to,
cameras are there in real life.
You would be able to tell that the episode feels weird, and obviously people will be coming to it knowing it's a live episode, but I think then it would take you out of it because the entire time you're just thinking like, oh, it looks weird because it's a live episode. It's like, oh, it looks weird because in universe you have documentary people and they're making that part of the story and the frustration and stuff like that, you know. I think it's a smart move to do that in this.
Yeah. And then the only other recent example I could find of a show doing a live thing, and this is one of those, like, it's not a lot of money, but it's weird that I have 2 nickels. Another show did a season 2 episode that was live the series is called Undateable. And then season 3, they decided to do every episode live.
What in the world?
Yeah.
That's so strange.
And the shtick to the Undateable show is that they always have musical guests. So then the musical guests were expected to perform live. And Undateable aired separate East and West shows, so they were always doing the show twice.
I mean, more power to them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it failed and they canceled the show, but sure.
It's funny because I don't want to be like, don't take risks and do interesting things, but it still just feels like a really odd swing, I guess, for something like that, but sure.
I think what it is when I think about my favorite live episodes, like the 30 Rock live episodes are pretty good, but they're done for like art. They're not really done for this like corporate, we want to win the viewers. But ER did so well with Ambush that I think the sort of lesson learned here was like, oh, this works to get viewers, and that's just not true.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for ER, which was already a popular show, but also it's like wild to make your medical drama that's meant to be realistic a live show.
Exactly.
You can appreciate the complexity. I don't know that any old sitcom just doing a live episode is going to make me that interested to watch it.
No, like the Will and Grace live episode is fun, but that's a multicam sitcom that's shot on a proscenium stage. It's like watching a play, which is cool, but it's not.
Right.
It's not particularly, I've got to go see this.
Right. Yeah. Huh. It is clarifying what makes this one feel so unique among the history of live episodes, though.
Yeah. I will just say, like, recently, I guess even more recently than the Undateable show, which was a sitcom, but like beyond that, taking a sort of scripted or produced show and then doing a live thing about it kind of lives in the reality TV space now.
Sure, which makes sense.
Yeah, Survivor for many years did its results in a live show. The 2023 Love is Blind finale was a live Netflix streaming reunion of the cast, and it was a clusterfuck. That
I remember that people freaking out about that.
Yeah, people were like, Netflix is going to cease to exist as a company. This was such a big whiff. And that obviously did not happen.
Wasn't it a thing where people couldn't even like log on to Netflix to watch it at all?
It like broke Netflix servers. Yeah. Unfortunately all you had was like Vanessa Lachey trying to like vamp, which was a terrible idea.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's sort of where we're at with live TV today. I don't know in a streaming world that we're going to go back to this model. The Survivor season 50 finale was done live, and it was not a well-produced live episode. So that's probably going back on ice for a while as well.
Wow, that's wild, because you think for a reality show of all things, that would be the easiest thing to do live. But the technical aspects of the streaming stuff, I mean, it's like, oh, we already kind of had this all figured out.
Yeah, we figured this out once upon a time.
Yeah, all right, we just made things worse. Great. This episode succeeded very well.
Yeah,
so
truly.
The idea of a live episode had been floated around by Clooney and Edwards, actually, of all people, since the first season. So like actors were interested in possibly doing this, which I find really, really fascinating. To do you know if either of those had any theater background?
Edwards did, and
Edwards did. Okay.
And after ER, I didn't even put this in his bio, but he did a ton of theater in California.
So that makes sense about how he's like, I could do that, and Clooney's like, that sounds interesting, I want to try that. Like I can see that being the case.
I will say, from all the behind the scenes on the DVDs, Clooney seems to be like a big wingman for Anthony Edwards. Like,
interesting.
If Anthony Edwards had an idea, Clooney was like, yeah, fuck man, let's do that.
That's really funny.
Feels very bro-y for, again, a person I now think of as like a major movie star.
They end up going for this idea. They plan it, obviously it takes a while to get to the point, I think, where they feel confident and competent enough to be able to pull it off. They eventually do plan it for the first episode of season 4.
You can probably tell this is filmed on the same Burbank set that everything else was filmed on. There is not a special set built for this, which is great because that would have been massively expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I've done as much diligence I can do on this, Derek. Variety credits this as the first time of capturing human vomiting on television. Well, not real human vomiting. Obviously, it is a tube, but
you can tell that it's a tube. It's one of the worst it's probably the worst special effect in this episode, unfortunately.
It looks a little better on the West Coast version, but yes, you can absolutely tell that this is a tube.
The angle is so wrong, and it comes out in such like a perfect, like, this is a hose shooting it out of this man's mouth very far. Like, obviously you had to do a vomit take for your live episode.
Yes.
That needed to happen. It needed to happen. I just don't think they accomplished it very well, unfortunately.
Well, it made history, I guess, because this is the first time. I was certain when I read this in Variety that this had to be a lie. Again, I trust journalists. Journalist is the hottest profession you can have. But I was like, this can't be true. I found a list of complaints made to the FTC of all of the times vomiting had appeared on television by some public decency group.
Interesting.
And all of the ones that were listed up until this point were just miming or making retching sounds. This is the first time you see a character vomit on broadcast television. Maybe cable had already been doing it.
Oh, on broadcast television specifically, that does make a big difference.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is the late 90s, so I'm sure it's happened on cable or on HBO or something.
But I swore that when Dan Aykroyd did Julia Child that he did vomiting. I swore that happened, but I think I'm conflating it with like when he cuts himself and Julia Child bleeds out on air.
Sure.
But I just in my mind thought SNL had already done vomiting. It wouldn't be Mad TV that uses the vomit tube until later in the 90s.
That is still funny to me, though, because it's just like, I don't know. I guess I didn't realize it took that long for television to allow vomiting on network TV.
Right. This is why. It's just vomit. I mean, it's gross. I do agree.
It's gross, but it's like the late 90s. That's so weird. That's kind of breaking my brain a little bit, because I'm like there's grosser stuff that was on TV way before that, like on network TV before that.
Yes, blood and gore and stuff. Yeah, but what that
had they even is that even And is that even in animation? Like they're really talking about live action, right?
Yeah, it must have been live action because that was the only things that. And again, this media watchdog group did diligence for me. I appreciate you, moms of we don't want to see vomiting on TV, but like no. Everything else was like retching noise.
Right.
Showing a puddle was on there, but not the act of somebody vomiting.
Interesting. Which I mean that makes sense because it's it's an effect you have to do. So why would a show do that if they don't have to? That's just. I don't know. That's so weird to think about.
So weird.
All right. Noah Wyle getting puked on made history. Interesting.
The director of photography on this one, Richard Thorpe, would go on to be a producer later this season. He stays on through the end of the series run as director of photography from season 1-4 onwards. He is nominated for an Emmy for this show, for this episode. And I think deserved.
Yeah, I think so too.
The other thing I think is notable about this is that this is pre-2004 Super Bowl. So the infamous costume malfunction has not happened. And so live means live. There is no 5-second delay recorded by FTC at this point of time in television's history.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So there was literally no coverage if something went wrong. That's fascinating. That is fascinating. Huh.
Which is weird because SNL was always operating with a delay of their own design.
Sure. That makes sense. But I could see how this show would be like, no, we're going to up the challenge.
Yeah.
Right? We're not even going to lie.
Bring it on.
Yeah. I have a question about this because this is the first episode of season 4. And then the following week, the second episode of season 4, and then the following week, the third episode of season 4. Did they film episodes that came after this out of order?
This was the 6th production episode. They already had 5 in the bank.
Makes sense. They would have had to.
They would have had to.
They don't film the episodes 3 days before they air. So it's it's interesting to think about that because I hadn't really considered that until I was like, wait, no, there are episodes that come after. There are episodes that have to come literally the next week. So they had to have filmed them out of order, even if they were probably rehearsing this while they were filming those.
And this was the first story they broke in the writer's room. That's what I was remembering from Flint's interview.
Which makes sense that you break it first. But I think then you have to consider that also as an additional challenge for the actors though, because they're probably rehearsing this live one while they're also rehearsing and filming other episodes that take place after it. Like obviously actors are used to doing things out of order, but like the idea that like they have to really be committed to paying attention to this, like this is the one I have to remember everything from though and nail, but also I've got to do all the other normal shit that I normally have to do at the same time. Like that's pretty wild.
That actually makes me feel so much better because even though I read that and knew it in my heart and my mind, I did when Alex Kingston walks onto screen, I was like, what a shitty first day at work.
So it's not her. Yeah, you know what? I know we were joking about it. Like it is still crazy that she had to do that so early.
Yes.
After she entered, and it probably still been working on rehearsing it and everything, like first thing. But at least she didn't have to film this for her first day. She did have other time to get to know cast members and stuff, which is So that helps it a little bit too.
Yeah, but you know what? The live worked on us, Derek. It made us think that this was all happening.
Yeah. Right. It tricks, it like makes you forget like knowing how TV works. And sort of like, they just film it like this every week. They're always just working on the show right as we speak. Yeah.
I love this because I didn't really catch it until I listened to the BTS and then watched the episode again. But there is a character who is just playing drums with the rhythm of the credit song, or I guess the theme of ER, and that was the only way to introduce diegetic music because otherwise it's a live episode. You can't just pipe music in.
Although there are scenes where there's music happening somehow, and I don't understand quietly, and I don't know where it's coming from.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if something was like playing on a radio or something.
It must have been because there's definitely ones that are sort of like, do they have a score here? And like I have no idea where it's coming from. So it must, but yeah, they must have had. But it's always very faint.
Okay,
so it must have been something that was meant to be playing over the PA or something like that, I imagine.
Well, so's a lot of the dialogue, Derek, so I hope you put the subtitles on because there are some scenes that are unwatchable.
Oh yeah, I did have the subtitles on the whole time. The only other thing I wanted to bring up before we get into the episode itself, just briefly, that I thought was really interesting was reading about critical response at the time versus response over time. Because this, to me, I've always known it as a really highly well-regarded episode that everyone looks back to and thinks it's a real accomplishment. It's considered one of the best episodes of the show, or at least one of the most successful episodes, or just like, wow, they really hit a slam dunk with that one. They really nailed it. Every review I was reading when it came out was just sort of like, what a stupid gimmick. This episode sucks so bad. I can't believe they do this. So dumb. It's so fascinating to me.
Yes.
Because I had no idea that it was such a negative response when the first episode aired by critics. I'm sure audiences were down with it, but by critics at the time, because that's so funny. And I don't think that that's how critics would approach stuff like this now. I feel like most TV critics now like are pretty on board with at least acknowledging like, hey, you set yourself up for a challenge and did it, whether it worked or not. They were really like just shredding the idea that they were even attempting to do something so beneath them, like for this, which is really fascinating to me.
Yeah. It almost feels like a reaction to how much publicity also was for the show.
I think that's probably what it was. It was just like, because it feels like, I totally sympathize with the idea of getting burnt out on something being overhyped and then just feeling cynical about it, where it's just like, this is just corporate marketing bullshit. This is just a big, it is a big publicity stunt, which it certainly was. The step absolutely was.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But a publicity stunt that is still an artistic, creative challenge. But I do get like seeing all the buzz about it probably for months. And I'm sure as a critic too, you're probably getting sent even more press for it. And I'm sure it's just like, you did all that for this? There wasn't even a fucking story in this episode. It's like, it's just a bunch of stuff that happens. To be fair, it is just kind of an episode where a bunch of stuff happens. But the challenge is, can we do a really complex thing technically on television and pull it off? And they do. Yes. And I don't think a lot of critics were engaging with it that way. They were just, annoyed at it more than anything, which I just find really interesting.
Yeah. And the proof is in the pudding, in that 45% of TV watching households in the United States tuned into this episode.
That's a ridiculous amount of people. That's a ridiculous, almost half of every single living person in the United States watched this live.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Almost 50 million households watch this. And
incredible.
Today you're kind of like, we had 1 million people watch our show. That's incredible. It's out of the park.
Wow. So wild.
Yeah.
So wild.
I'm a little sad that we don't get opening credits for this one. If I have a sadness about the live episode, I think the opening credits for ER are good, even though they're kind of annoying.
The opening theme song, I have so much appreciation for it that they made a theme song that's like, kind of sounds like ambulance sirens and medical equipment and things like that, and beeping and stuff like that, like in heart monitors, things like that. Like, I think it's a really brilliantly created piece of music. This theme song gives me so much anxiety. It always had since I was watching this in the since I would see the first few seconds of it in the 90s and have to change the channel because it made me feel like upset and anxious. And to this day, and maybe part of it was because I would change a channel so I'd only hear the most like upsetting like bit of it before it gets uplifting midway through. But even when I was looking up some of the, looking up the credits since we didn't get them, just to like get the vibe of what the season looked like. And I just like felt weird
tense.
After I watched it. Just felt really tense.
Yeah.
After, it just makes you feel really tense and anxious. Like, this would be maybe the only show in my whole life where if I were watching through all of it, I would have to hit the skip credits button. I don't think...
That's amazing. I love that.
I think I would have to skip intro this. I can't deal with it. I think they're really well made. I like the color filters and movements and stuff like that. And I always remember Eric LaSalle that does the yes thing. I get it, but I can't. It just upsets me.
Yes, I mean, you're absolutely right, and you're right that it is a well-made. So I probably also, if I was going to binge watch this, I would have to eventually start skipping this. In the way that I also can't watch the West Wing credits 100 times. It's too American. It's too much America. I can't do it.
Hate those credits. That would be the other one that I would skip intro for too, actually. Yeah.
But here it's you know what? It's really selling that this is a different episode. And I love, I think we both love when someone fucks with the opening credits. Even if we don't get the 10th song, it's just white font over black background doing the actors' names. And that's great.
Yeah, and they include all the guest actors too. So it goes on for a long time.
It does. And they do it smart to record just like either ad-libbed or written dialogue. This is the thing, is I was curious about that. You can find the scripts for this online. But there's nothing written for this. So this was either ad-libbed or they wrote something and it's just not part of the script.
Yeah, I was curious about that though. It's like, are they actually just like doing that right now? Or is that the one thing that was pre-recorded?
Yeah.
Was just the intro to this?
Might be pre-recorded. I did not pay attention when I watched the West Coast one.
Yeah, I mean, it would be so hard to tell anyway.
Yeah. I will say, if anybody is deciding to stream this and you are on Hulu, Disney Plus, you are watching the East Coast version. That is the thing that went to syndication.
I wonder why they chose that.
I don't know, because in most of the interviews, everyone agrees the West Coast version was better.
That's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. And I was like, I watched the side by side for the first 10 minutes of the episode just to compare it. And it is, I mean, credit where credit is due. They all like do a very good job of doing the same performance. Like, obviously, if you're a theater performer, like,
yes,
this is
your life.
Like, you're supposed to do that. But again, they're not all coming from a theater background, and they have to do this not just like 2 times, but literally back to back. They just wrapped the episode. The West Coast is starting like just in a few hours after that. So they have to, there's not that, like, that's not that significant of a break to then get back into the headspace you have to be in for something this complicated and I'm sure very exhausting. Honestly, the most interesting part to me was watching them literally side by side. Is just that the timing gets off at a certain point.
Yes.
And there's a point where like one of them is just the entire scene just lags a few seconds the entire time, which I just find really interesting.
I'm glad we both watched it for the purposes of doing a podcast about television, which we love. But I was like, if you wanted to get information out of me, show me this for like 2 hours, because I started to lose my mind.
Yeah, it is weird because they're not completely in sync. It's always just, you're hearing everything kind of twice, almost like a constant echo of everything.
Yes, but it starts stereo. It starts like perfect sync, which is the wild thing.
And I think it's interesting seeing, I mean, it's also just a fun way to it's a fun view into like the little bits of business that go into acting.
Yes.
Because you get to see the little slight changes that actors make, probably would be between takes, but are just between performances. The same deal as if you watch, the same play, but like on different nights.
Yeah.
You're going to get roughly the same thing, but even with the same actors, things are going to be different. Slight bits of timing. There's like a bit where like you can see Juliana Margulies and like at one point she's like, scratching her nose or doing something with her face. And she doesn't do that on like the West Coast version while she's talking. And it looks natural both ways.
Yeah.
It looks natural both times. It's just 2 different ways of attacking it. And like all of that is like basic stuff if you ever have had any acting experience, but like to actually see it right in front of you, it's just really interesting to look at and see the choices that they make or what feels natural to them in one moment that doesn't feel natural to them 3 hours later,
Exactly. Yeah. I like this opening scene where they're installing the camera. Again, it's just sort of selling you the bit that it's a documentary crew, but it's a smart way of not starting immediately with the director being like, I'm doing a documentary about this. It's like either the husband or one of the camera people, because we never really know who the guys are.
Yeah. And I think it's smart too. Like they started off with a little bit of humor because they have who is it at the beginning, the female nurse?
Oh, it's Hathaway. Yeah, it's Margulies.
Is it her?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was her or not. They have Hathaway in the lounge, like realizing that she's on camera and then like trying to make her coffee. But then it's the thing where like, as soon as you realize you're being observed and like you're feeling awkward about it, then you do all the dumbest shit imaginable. Yep. And like she spills the milk all over the table and then cleans it up. But like, it does not do a very good job of cleaning that milk up at all because she wants to get the fuck out of there because she knows she's on camera. And so she actually does a worse job cleaning up the milk, is way less smooth than she ever would have been if no one was around, runs out, gives them the peace sign, then has to like just like very defeatedly walk back in, realizing she didn't even bring that coffee that she just like went through all of that for. Like it's a very funny way to start the episode. And I think it gets you into the mindset that like these are characters who are supposed to be uncomfortable on camera, which makes it so if anyone looks awkward or uncomfortable because they messed up during this live episode, you're like, well, they're just awkward on camera. But also like it means that there's an added level of tension to everything that's going on in an already tense show anyway.
Yeah. I love that anytime we're in the Doctor's Lounge, they are playing a Cubs game. And that's really the Cubs game that was on.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Shalami described it in the behind the scenes, or I think it was actually the post interview. He was asked about it, and he goes, "Oh, I wanted it to be like a ransom tape, like showing them newspaper clipping." Yeah, and
that's really smart.
That's what it delivers.
Yeah, that's a very smart little detail.
This is where we follow the camera crew into the trauma room. They're treating a fracture, and we get to see some tension between Benton and Carter. We got a little bit on the last time on ER, but this is sort of the beginning of Noah Wiley's second iteration with the ER, where he's just going to be an ER doctor instead of a surgeon.
I think they do a good job right early on of, I mentioned the Juliana Margulies scene at the beginning, but then also the other side of it is also just how complex the things that they're filming are going to be, because this camera has to get up right in these actors' faces in a very like I don't know how big the actual space was in real life, but on screen it looks like a very tight space when they're in the trauma room. And so having like you're getting an example of what you're going to see throughout this whole episode of having this camera kind of shoved in their faces while they're trying to do their stuff. They're still doing all of their doctory things. So like out of universe, it's like, wow, you're still actors who are just really committing to doing all of this with like already kind of a complicated practical effects sequence of dealing with this patient, right? And in universe, you're like, oh, these are doctors that are now having to deal with this camera being right in their fucking face while they're trying to do their jobs, bumping into it, questioning it, being confused about it. I don't want to keep like saying it's tense, but it makes it feel even more tense, even when it's kind of funny how awkward they are around the camera.
Oh, I really broke it, huh?
Well, you're not going to be playing varsity this fall.
Varsity? I'm 24 years old.
24?
Guess I don't need a pediatrician.
Well, you are going to be carded until you're 40.
Would you mind staying for a moment?
You need me?
Yeah, I just want to get Dr. Green discussing the orders.
Oh, you need the back of my head.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Green, how's that pulse?
Distal pulses are 2+ and equal, no arterial injury. Good evening. Dr. Carter, you're early. Open a fracture?
Yep.
Ooh, need me?
Yes, actually, I'm sick of assisting Dr. Welby here.
Who? Listen, why don't you finish the history? You have pain anywhere besides your leg, Mr. Chang?
Justin, I kind of jammed my stomach.
Yeah, you got any allergies?
It's just hay fever.
Anything for me? Oh, this is today?
Please don't look in the lens.
Yeah, right.
There's this fun little moment of levity when Aggie, who's the director, is like, oh no, Dr. Ross, don't leave. I need you to talk to Dr. Edwards about the orders. And and George Clooney looks at the camera and goes, you need the back of my head? And she's like, yes. And she's right, that's because really then the actual what would have made it to the documentary, should we ever have seen this, it looks much better as a shot for him to be talking to another doctor.
It does, yeah. But he's just sort of like, but you don't want to see this beautiful face sent to a frame? What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, I'm sexiest man alive. Did you not know?
You're not sexiest back of head. What are you talking about? Yeah.
This is also where Noah Wiley comes in and they say, oh, Carter, you don't have to speak loud. Like the microphone will pick you up. Spoiler alert for later in the episode. No, it won't. But
yeah, are they okay? I was a little bit confused about this. So it seems like this is all in universe.
Yeah.
Some people are meant to be mic'd, like where they actually seem to have a mic clipped to them. But then other times, I guess we're supposed to assume they're holding a boom mic just as they actually are in the actual television production. I was a little bit confused by who's mic'd and who isn't and how they're hearing stuff sometimes.
Yeah, that is
like
one of the
in
things.
Universe. I know in real life, they just have boom mics as a TV show. But in universe, I don't really understand how they're supposed to be hearing certain things.
Exactly. And we even see lavs on some of their outfits.
Right.
But I don't think they're real. I mean, I think they're real lavs, because why build a lav prop? But I don't think they're on.
Yeah, but it's like confusing because then it's just like, but certain doctors, obviously you're just running into them, but you hear them just fine, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
later
confusing.
we're following Ross and Hathaway and they're like, oh, they're mic'd so we can hear what they're saying, even though they're pretending they can't be heard. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was weird. I almost wish that they had just avoided that because I think that's a funny joke later when they hear them through the window because they're mic'd. But like but it made me think about it the whole time. And I'm like, oh, so they're not just saying this is a really great boom mic that they're using, which would be fine, and I'm sure that it is.
Yeah,
but it's just like. That once they introduce that concept, then I'm constantly questioning, like, how are they choosing who gets mics?
Right.
Why are only some of them have mics? Why did some of these people agree to have mics when some of them definitely do not want to? Like, it was just very weird. I wish they just hadn't acknowledged that at all.
Yeah, and I can forgive and sort of ignore a lot of the like medical of all of this, that a camera crew is allowed to be in an ER.
Yeah, that's also a little bit weird, but
I think like thinking about a patient being mic'd as like you can audibly hear patients later, that's insane. It would never mic a patient.
What are you talking about? Yeah, it's like, again, I'm willing to buy that for the illusion of it, but they should have just not acknowledged that aspect of it. Like no one would have questioned it
a bridge too far
until you specifically make jokes about how they have mics on.
Yeah, I do think that the Ross and Hathaway, the sweatiness of that is because they just did the will they of the will they won't they, and this is the opening of season 4, and you have to sort of like acknowledge that without them waking up in bed together, which is what you'll do in season 4 episode 2. Literally the next scene that follows this episode.
I see. Okay. Makes sense.
And so I think that maybe it's a little bit of sweatiness in that you just had to have this scene.
I understand that. Yeah.
But they can't talk about it openly because it's a secret.
And that's probably one of the things that I'm sure critics were a little bit annoyed about, is that it's like this episode is kind of impeding on the storylines that you wanted to see followed up on from the season finale, last May. So
yeah, I want to see my two hot people hook up, and I want Dr. Green to be crazy.
Right.
Here's where we've got the sort of the deal about signing the release and not signing the release, and then Dr. Delamico retires for the rest of the episode. That's fine. She's out of here.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Literally don't care. Forgot that scene even happened.
I do like this. This is where Dr. Green and Dr. Boulay go to treat Mr. Schoenberger, who's the guy who's like a cigar smoker, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the nice moment of the actor Ruben being given a line where she's like, oh, I said it wrong. Should I start again? And that's in the script. That is word for word in the script.
No. That's funny to me though, because when I was watching it, I thought that was I did think that was an intentional joke. I thought that was more because by this point, I think you've already had the joke. I don't remember who says what, but they talk about, I think Aggie is saying like, oh yeah, it's for PBS.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, what, you mean it's not for network? Like, and is like actually excited about being on TV. So at that point, they're already acknowledging sort of like, some of these doctors are actually kind of into the idea of like being like mild movie stars. Like they kind of have it in their head. And so I thought that was her just being like, but I want to be good for the camera though, right? Like I want to say it right for that. Like, and it was. So I guess I'm saying it works both ways. It makes sense in universe, but it also works if you're trying to look for mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think just like spilling the milk in the break room, this gives other cover in case something does go wrong, for it to not seem like something went super wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was Sherman Howard that played that actor. I was like, I recognized him. Okay, yeah, I like him. He's so hot.
Yeah, criminal that Abraham Ben Ruby is not at the front desk for the shift of the ER, but alas, Derek, I apologize. Okay, this is where we meet a very camera shy Dr. Morgenstern, who is like in charge of the ER. He's like the department head of the ER. And normally he's this very confident, accomplished surgeon. And he is so awkward in this episode. William H. Macy does an incredible job in this performance.
He is very good. Yeah, because you know that he's not awkward in front of a camera. So like it's a very good.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's the first time you see him. There's a guy in the background who rides by on roller skates.
Yes.
What the fuck was up with that?
There's a lot of weird background, and I couldn't tell if it was a bit. And it's different in the West Coast version. It's like a different weird person in the background. It almost feels a little bit like Inside Jokey. But yeah, they're like the the hot woman who's dressed in like medieval garb later, that's a different outfit in the second viewing as well.
Okay. I'm of two minds about that, because I do like doing things like that are sort of things for audiences to spot, because I mean it's 1997. By this point, they know there's going to be some rebroadcast or some way you can watch both versions at some point. They know that will be possible, and there are big enough fans who are going to try to do that. So I like putting in those little like little things for them to notice. I don't know why they had to be things that were like distracting in the background that takes you out of it, though.
Yes, to the degree that the like camera even focuses on the hot woman later, which is fun. She's attractive, but
it's just odd. Like it could have been like, I can't think of a good example, but there's so many things that could have just, like, it's an ER. Like there could have been any weird thing walking by. Could have just, that still could have been like, I don't know. That didn't have to be a guy on roller skates. It's just really weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange to think about, but even here in 1997, DirecTV was already in market. So rich people could have watched both versions of this episode. No problem. Yeah. But the rest of us would have had to wait until either the DVDs came out or someone gave you a tape or whatever.
I think didn't they I think they did eventually re-air, like they aired the West Coast version on the East Coast, or the East Coast.
Yes, they did. It was and it was event. I read about this too. They were like, we're going to show you the version you couldn't see. And no one tuned into it, but it was like a July release.
Yeah, but I think they always knew that they could have that in their back pocket to do that, and hardcore fans would be here for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We talked a little bit about it. This is where we have the scene of like, let's go have a little love rendezvous where no one can hear us, but they're still mic'd up, and it's, kind of played for laughs. I do like that Aggie is like, hey, the nurses are telling hot gossip about patients. Come and get this on camera. And that's pretty real. Everyone in the medical services cares about you and you getting the care that you need. But in order to do this job, you do have to spend a little bit of time just reflecting on some of the people who've come through the door. And if you fell in the shower on a transistor radio, we're going to talk about it at the nurse's station later. Sorry.
That's true for any job that deals with other humans.
Yes.
Though. Like every customer service thing you've ever encountered, they have made fun of you.
Yeah.
Like after you've left. Yeah. That has happened. It's
just life.
You just got to live with that.
It's just life.
And unfortunately, these are people in this case that are in a hospital who probably see you as your absolute most vulnerable. But guess what? They don't make that much money compared to all the work that they're doing. Let them have this. Let them make fun of you when you're not around.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's just part of life.
Yeah. We get I don't have really anything to say about the vomiting scene that we've already spent a weird amount of time on, except that I do like that it ends up leading to getting a moment where they're talking to the housekeeping guy.
Yes.
I don't know if that character is a recurring character with like a name or
He's
not.
No.
Okay. But I like that they spotlight that.
No. You do not want to know.
I wouldn't ask if I didn't want to know.
I have done this too long not to know. This job, people don't want to hear about it.
Why? Because of what you clean up?
This is nothing. Believe me, this here is just a little picnic. You ought to see what some of them do. A body is only so big, but you can hardly believe all that comes out of it. You get used to it, though. Like every mama and daddy get used to changing a baby's diaper. But the blood and the gore, you know what the gore is, right? That's the part you don't talk about. When you go home and they ask you how your day was. No. It doesn't bother me. You see, I'm a religious person, and I believe human beings were created in God's image. So, whatever I'm cleaning up must be just fine. You believe?
I don't know. You mean believe in God?
Uh-huh. You couldn't do my job if you didn't. You could maybe be a doctor or a nurse or make a movie. Not my job.
Yeah, the nurses and the doctors and all them that you're following for this TV show, they're not the ones who have to clean up all this puke. Like, that's my job, but that's what I'm here to do.
It's a strangely, emotional speech that he does, too. I think we can just talk about it here. Like, it's strangely, poignant, I would say, of, I'm doing a job that not everyone else can do in
Oh,
the
for sure.
ER, and he is correct. It
I
is a
agree with
difficult
him.
job.
Yeah, and sort of like the difficulty of like, sometimes you do have to go home at night having seen some of the worst shit you've ever seen in your life and just live with that. And not everyone can do that, know? I mean, I totally get, like I said, like, I mean, I think for both of us, we've both been in situations where we're like thrust into some variation of a clinical situation that we have never been prepared for, trained on, had no real experience with. And like, even if nothing actually goes wrong in that situation, you're seeing shit that's going to stick with you for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I think for something like housekeeping is one of the weirder jobs, I think, in this type of setting, because more than likely it is not someone who is clinically trained, who hasn't been going to school for a long time or mentally preparing or whatever to see shit, and yet maybe sees probably some of the worst stuff in the hospital because they're cleaning up the aftermath of it, it is weird. It is very weird and very interesting.
Well, and without clean rooms, you can't see patients. The longer you take to see a patient, the more likely they are to have a severity in their disease or lead to death. Like, it is
right. So
one of the most critical jobs in the hospital.
You still have life in your hands. Like, it's really wild.
I will say he's not credited as having a name in this episode, but the character comes back, and so he is named. This is Nat. Good. Brent Jennings plays him. He comes back in another season 4 episode, and then comes back for a season 7 episode.
Good for him.
So I
love that.
I don't remember him. I apologize, Nat, but that's great.
Wow.
Then we've got the big walk and talk sequence.
Oh, yes.
So this is what it starts with: Dr. Green being interviewed by Aggie, and then he gets interrupted by Laura Innes, he gets interrupted by Juliana Margulies, and they're like, hey, don't forget, you're the attending, this is a fucking ER, people are coming. And this is where we learn that Mr. Schoenberg's, the smoker's labs have come back, there's a problem with that, and a respiratory distress patient is coming in right now. And we track the gurney coming in the way that we do many ER episodes, but it's this long one take. And this is where we get guest star of the episode, Nick Offerman.
Yeah. I knew ahead of time that he was in this one. I don't remember how I learned that. But it was nice to see young Nick Offerman. I mean, and he came from theater. He did a ton of Chicago theater, actually.
Yes.
So, it's a perfect fit for this, but it is very funny to see him in such a young version of him in such a bit role here, as just like a guy who's upset that his friend is dying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love Boz's story because he is suffering from cancer. He is on his way to a progressive state where he will die from his cancer. He has a do not resuscitate, but he cannot communicate that need. And Nick Offerman's character doesn't know or didn't bring the DNR with them. And it is a big educational moment in this episode. And ER did this a lot to sort of make the public aware of issues around medicine.
Yeah, I do love that. I mean, that is the importance of shows like this, because they can't, the healthcare industry is very complicated and kind of dark at certain points. Yeah. And so it's good to have this type of stuff front and center so you can sort of see it through the filter of fiction before you inevitably have to deal with something like this in real life one day.
Yep. And it resonated with me because DNRs were like a big part of my job when I worked at the hospital, was helping families to navigate and set up DNRs if that was their wishes.
Yeah, makes sense. It's rough stuff, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this is when it starts getting to the point of the episode, and we're just sort of like, oh, I'm just feeling kind of bad the whole time. Like, it's really wonderful to see this performed from the television aspect and the technical aspect, but like after this point, shit keeps happening. Like there's like multiple points in my notes where my notes are just another one in all caps, like, because people keep showing up and it keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's a show about a fucking emergency, idiot. But like,
it's sort of the thesis of working in the ER. Another one.
I know, but it is kind of harrowing when you're watching this because I don't know. I feel like this one, I imagine, saying this with not as very little familiarity with the show as a whole, but I feel like there's fewer moments of calm and levity in this because they just have to keep it moving because it is the live episode.
Yeah. Even cutting to environmental services cleaning the room, that is a moment of calm. And
it's still upsetting.
And get to / have to listen to this very deep analysis of what it means to work in medicine. It isn't exactly like going to catch up on Ross making out with a woman in the doctor's office, which is what you would see in season 1, you know?
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This one, I do think you're tense the whole time. I think that when ER is at its best, it balances this correctly. I think when ER is at its worst is when it is imbalanced. Later, the show will take the doctors to like Bosnia, and they will not even be in the Chicago ER. And those are some of the harder episodes to me to even like watch.
Yeah.
Because it's just bad times all around.
I guess this is another case of this being the first episode of the season that also kind of has to reference past events, but like you start to realize that I think the real reason they maybe are here with this documentary is because of Dr. Green and the whole like stuff that he went through in the previous season and recent trauma and getting beat up in the hospital and stuff like that. And I think I didn't even notice it until I was rewatching like the opening of it, but I think that like the episode starts with Aggie specifically saying like yeah, he's the one in the glasses over there. So like this pretty much confirms that like they're here for him.
Yes,
really is actually why they're here, because it's a doctor who went through this trauma previously. I did not watch any episodes from the previous season. My understanding is that he got attacked at the hospital and got like almost beaten to death, right?
Yes, and then because he was a character on ER, he had a struggle with medications, as everyone who was a character on the show eventually has.
Well, I guess you got easy access to it.
Yep.
Why not?
It became a little bit of a joke at one point in time, like every character on ER had a drug addiction problem at one point in time.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure plenty of like, you know, nurses are watching that being like, well, come on. Like, not everybody.
You know, one time I only had clearance to get certain things out of the formulary machine, and it was really just tissues. So if you cried at the hospital, I would go get tissues and it would charge your account $3. I'm sorry.
That's amazing.
But one time I put in the code for tissues and I got 50 Vicodin came out of the machine. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to get fired.
Oh my God.
I should never have had clearance for that.
That's bananas.
Yeah, scariest day of my life.
I mean, what did you do? You pocketed them and sold them, right? That's what you did.
I should have done that because this was a very tough time for David in his life. No, I took the discharge nurse and I was like, hey, I don't know what happened. And she was like, all right, whatever, I'll figure it out.
It's really fun. It's like, I don't give a shit.
Then I came back into the patient's room and I was like, oh fuck, I don't have tissues. And like,
oh no.
Oh well. I should have been like, can I have you a Vicodin at this troubling time?
That is bananas to me that there are just tissues everywhere. Come on. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe there's you know,
there's lots of things to fix in the medical system.
I would argue that the healthcare industry is not perfect. It's a little bit flawed.
Yeah.
Maybe has some problems that might be worth addressing.
Yeah.
At some point, if people have time. It's not that, it's not a big deal. It's not that important. It's not that important. I know there's more important things in the world, but
yeah,
maybe at some point, if you can have time to fix it, maybe someone should.
Yeah. I do like the other business that we're doing because just like you said, this is it has to be an episode of ER as well. This is where like Carter is like, hey, I'm really excited to be a resident now. And Weaver just turns and is like, you're not a resident. You're still an intern. You can't change your specialty. You essentially are starting over from scratch. And
how did no one tell this guy that? How do you not know that?
It is because Carter is the stupidest character that's ever been a doctor in all of history. I do like that he sort of has to like process the trauma of knowing that he has to start from scratch on a documentary. I do think Wiley does a good job of being like crushed and also like, it'll all work out for the camera. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Is it this scene when Carter is, you know, getting the wife to sign a DNR that he has that line where he says trauma isn't something that happens to other people, it can happen to you?
Yeah.
I really like that line. Like, cuz I think he was talking about, like, I think they were asking him like Like, how do you break bad news to patients? Because I think that's why it comes up that he's just an intern. That it's just like he's got to deliver really horrible news to someone who might not have enough medical knowledge to really understand what he's talking about. And that's when he's sort of like, I think you just think about the trauma as something that happens to people like it happened to you, which is upsetting to think about. But I do think it's like an important thing to consider that like this type of thing random horrible things can happen to literally anyone at any given time.
Yep. I also think that while that is happening, and it is, awful, we're also doing unnecessarily high art camera work in that they are shooting the wife of Boz and Noah Wiley through a window, and in the reflection of the window you can watch them operating on Boz.
It's wild.
On a live episode, this is it's incredible. I was really amazed.
Cool. That whole sequence, because even before they do the reflection thing, it ends up feeling like it gives the effect that Noah Wiley is giving voiceover while they're operating them, because basically he's talking and then the camera passes them, goes into the operating room or trauma room, and just like focuses on the patient while you still hear him audibly, like as if he's talking right into a mic, you know, very audibly. So it feels like it's just a voiceover in a TV show or a movie, and then it maneuvers to do that wild reflection shot. It's really cool.
It's really cool, and and we know this because we've watched a lot of television with reflection shots, but to get that right, it has to be perfect. And so it's a ballet that even happened.
But even still, they always have the fallback that this is an in-universe in-universe documentary crew.
Right.
So if they fucked it up and you saw the camera in the reflection, okay, there, that the camera is there. They've established that.
I think my bigger thing would be not seeing any reflection at all because the door just was angled the wrong way, which is fine. I don't think it would have ruined the scene for me.
Sure.
I just think that this was an incredible bit of art that Shlami made happen. I just think it's stupid.
Very cool. I think that's the reason to watch this, in my opinion, is just the technical prowess and accomplishment.
Agreed.
That like they could have, like, obviously there's no reason they would have half-assed doing a live episode because they didn't need to do a live episode in the first place. This is them wanting to do something wild, but they could have taken some easy routes and been like, well, let's cover for ourselves. We'll make this a more personal episode where, there's maybe one patient, but maybe it takes place on an unusually slow night in the ER. Right. And that forces the characters to deal with their interpersonal issues. And that's how, and we can follow up on the storyline in season 4, but like, no, they try to do it. They go as hard as they ever have on having this be one of the busiest nights these characters have ever had.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, do these really unique artistic shots and techniques and things that they don't need to do because it's like artists who want to challenge themselves.
Yeah.
That's what makes this episode so cool.
Yeah. From here, we're with Dr. Ross. Oh, remember, he's a pediatrician, so there always has to be fucking children in the ER. Ugh, I hate
Great.
this.
Love seeing that. That's going to make me feel great. It's going to feel so nice.
He's treating a dog bite. It's not a dog bite. It's his little brother. The only reason that I even called attention to this is that it's so different in the West Coast screening because the baby it's a different baby because maybe you can't have a baby act that long.
I think that's fair.
It's probably good for society. But the second baby is doing nothing. It is like the best behaved child ever. No crying, no fidgeting, it's just a baby that is just there. And it is,
which is so weird because the entire scene is kind of built around the tension of this baby won't shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like was the person in the other bed that was yelling at the baby, like, did they just have to just not say anything?
Almost all the energy was the same except for Clooney, because in the East Coast version, the one that we both probably watched first or at all, Clooney is like yelling to get it to be heard over this baby, which is real because babies are loud. Yeah. And in the second version, he's just a lot more sedate because there's nothing to act against.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
That's really, really funny. Yeah. Wow. I did not watch the West Coast version. Sorry. No. I couldn't watch this a second time.
It was Derek, too much. Like, here's what I'll say is there's so many better episodes of ER. This is mid to bad, except for the live part, which makes it incredible.
Sure. I mean, no, but that's the thing. I think that's, and again, that's why I I don't hate the critics who were kind of shredding this.
Yeah.
But they do have to sacrifice like good narrative and character work to do the gimmick.
I agree.
And that is a downside. And that's not always the case for episodes of TV that we cover for this podcast. Sometimes it kind of elevates the narrative. This is one where like the narrative does have to take a backseat and the show has to be made a little bit worse to do the gimmick.
Yes.
And I do think that is worth acknowledging. I don't think that makes it worse or makes it less interesting, but I do think that's worth acknowledging that like there are scenarios where you can, you know, have to sacrifice something to do a gimmicky episode.
Agreed. And then we sort of have the biggest conflict that comes through the doors, which there was gang violence and a bystander went to break it up, and the bystander is being brought in and the victim of the violence are both being brought in. But Theo, the bystander, was the one who tried to break up the fight, and as a result, he has a fracture in his upper spine and he is paralyzed.
It's like upsetting because it's just like, dude just did something nice and heroic, and like this is his reward.
Yeah,
it's just so it's really upsetting.
Yes, I needed to point this out though because this is the only time that there wasn't a potential error that could have been impacted the scene, even though I don't think casual audiences would have caught it. Edwards doesn't ask Theo for his name, which he does in the West Coast version. It's part of the script. And the actor, Darnell Williams, before responding to one of Edwards' questions or one of Dr. Green's questions, says, "My name is Theo, and I weigh this amount of pounds," so that his name is out there and Green can use his name in the next question. Good
job.
And he has a background in stage acting, so it makes sense that Darnell, and he's been on All My Children for a while, so he's really good at recognizing that he needed to deliver that. It was the closest to the live theater moment that I had of being like, oh, I get it.
I mean, and you know, I didn't even pick up on that when I was watching. I just assumed that's just the guy's introducing himself. You know what I mean? Like, because I do think I really like Darnell Williams in this. I do think that like one of the reasons that I think this hit me wasn't so much like the situation, but it was him and how like just like calm and accepting he was of everything that was happening.
Yes.
You know? And I think he plays that really, really well in a way that's like, it makes you feel bad. It's like, oh my God, this guy is like too nice and perfect for this world. And it really sucks that he just is like being dealt this shitty hand for no reason, for just being a really nice guy.
Yeah. And I'll say excellent writing to you. This is where the gimmick does work because they're saying things to each other about the other patient that you probably wouldn't get in other scenes, but because we're tracking the victim of the gang violence as well, they're like, oh yeah, he's probably not going to make it. And Theo is like, what the fuck? I broke up this fight and the guy's not going to make it and I'm now paralyzed. And there's this really tender moment between Juliana Margulies and him of being like, no, he's going to be okay. We're going to save his life. What you did was not in vain. And that is like his ultimate heroism in the episode, but he is paralyzed at the end of this episode.
He is. Yeah. There's not, I mean, I think the positive side is that it seems like they're going to save the other guy that he did save.
Yes.
Like, so it's not, it could be bleak. I was expecting it to just go full bleak and just be like, yeah, this shit happens. Sometimes like it's just as terrible for everyone and everyone's lives are ruined and, or they're dead.
Yeah.
Like, but there is at least a little bit of hope that like, she is not lying to him. His sacrifice is not in vain ultimately. And he is a hero basically. So it's nice, but it's still just all very upsetting.
Yeah. Well, that carries over with the gang who now has come to the ER to like finish the job. Maybe this all kind of reeks of some like icky 90s racism.
I understand. I think I understand its placement in this, in that it's another challenge for them to have to have a really chaotic fight sequence in this episode that you're filming live. And I know that they're also dealing with this sort of very, very super incredibly light underlying theme of Dr. Green still getting over his trauma of having to confront violence that can make its way into this hospital setting. So having an episode that's like, yeah, the violence is here, man, makes sense. And I understand how you then get to a gang at that point.
Yeah.
But it's still, there's like racial element that I still think is a little bit weird and does feel very 90s. But I don't know what the alternative would have necessarily been, because I don't think it would. I do think it fits into this episode for what they're doing.
I agree. You needed the violence to come to the ER. I mean, the ambush title works on like a lot of different levels. Everyone,
sure,
every diagnosis is being upended by something that is coming in after it.
I didn't even think about that. That's so true.
Yeah, I will say again, on the page, so much of this works really, really perfectly as a story. I think ultimately it does get a little let down, but I think like the breaking of this story was probably a really hot day in the writer's room.
What do you think, like, if this episode had not been live and was just a documentary style episode, do you think that would have improved it substantially enough to justify not doing the challenge of a live episode?
No, I think this was landmark for ER. Like, this is when we talked to Erin last episode for Friends, this is the only episode of ER she had seen. Like, this was appointment viewing. This was a big deal. It is absolutely worth it. But if there was a highly produced documentary version episode of this episode,
with especially with like talking heads and stuff like that, they want full documentary.
Yeah, like the Babylon 5 episode we did. If they had done that, I think this probably would be a better story episode of television, but worse for the history of ER.
Sure. Yeah. This as an event episode.
Yeah.
And let's say this is like the one episode of ER I could confidently say I know.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. You and like everyone. That's the thing is like I think it's worth everything that you had to throw off the side of the ship to make this happen. But
that's so funny.
But I think the day they broke this, they were like, we're connecting this theme of ambushing across these multiple domains. Like, this is a really well-conceived episode of television.
Right, and at the same time that the documentary crew is ambushing them with questions and getting in the way and stuff like that. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. I do like that the gang also takes us into the act break because they, like, grab the camera and that's what, like, takes them out. I think that's a smart way to go to commercial, too.
Yeah, yeah. You also get a moment where William H. Macy is having, I guess he ends up having a heart attack, right? Is what it ends up being.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild that this is also in this episode. How much had he been on this show up to this point?
Ooh, a fair bit. He shows up a lot, but he's William H. Macy. Like, it's a big deal when he's in the credits.
Right. Oh, it's like a big deal, but like he's also an established character, so you could buy that maybe they'll also kill him off in this one too.
And that's what they're setting up here in season 4. And I think it's because Macy wasn't sure that he was going to be able to continue. Spoiler alert: he stays with the ER for a long time after this.
That's really funny.
He does not die of a heart attack.
So funny.
But I did kind of feel like this was maybe conceived to give him an out that ultimately they didn't end up using. No, he's there for a very long time. But in the same, he like shows up and then he doesn't show up for a few episodes and then he's back for an episode.
Right. Fully a recurring guy. It makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is where Corday arrives. Poor thing. Much better things for you to come for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Hi. Here's all the things that I am. Oh, that sounds different than what you say. Well, you probably don't care about this anyway. Now I'm going to leave.
Bye. Oh, you call surgeons doctors? We don't do that. How queer. Okay, bye.
There's even a point when she like, it seems like, oh, she's, you know, I think she was going to basically like replace Benton, right? On one of the cases. But then like, that doesn't go anywhere.
No,
like,
he doesn't
she's sort
leave.
Of, hey, I'm here. You can go home. Oh, wait, she just wants to talk to you. Never mind. And then she leaves. And then I'm sort of like, well, okay, I guess he's hanging out now and you're not.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's maybe one of the funniest, worst introductions of a character I have ever seen.
Agreed.
It's so funny how badly bungled that is.
Yeah. Yeah. She just shouldn't have been in the episode, I think.
Yeah, it makes no fucking sense.
All right, this is where we get our other weird 90s thing. And this is where a man has been admitted. He's got open wounds. He's bleeding all over the place. He tells the doctors he's HIV positive and threatens them to stay away from him because he doesn't want to infect them. That is an implied concern.
He was found down outside the Stones concert. It looked like he fell through a sheet of plate glass. Easy.
No. Leave me alone. No. Get away. Don't touch me.
Get security. Security! All right. It's okay. It's all right. Look, just relax.
No, stay away.
Okay? Just it's all
stay
right.
Stay away. Look, I'm sick. Okay, just stay away from me.
It's okay.
No, it's not okay.
It's all right.
I'm sick. I'm HIV positive. Okay, I've got AIDS. Just stay away from me.
please. No, no, no.
Okay.
Stop.
Shh. Okay. All right. Just lay back and let us help you. It's okay.
It is, Jim.
I know it is. All right.
Take it away.
I'll take it away. Okay.
One of the doctors goes up and comforts him. And this was very important for Wells to show in the live episode. They knew they had a lot of people tuning in. Wells wanted to make sure they depicted care and compassion being given to an HIV positive person.
And the doctor that like cares for him, she is HIV positive by this point, right? Or
I can't remember if she has seroconverted yet or if that was in season 4. Oh no, it did. It happened in season 3.
Yeah, because I know she's a character because that's what I looked that up afterwards, sort of like, what the fuck is up with this? And I'm like, oh, that's part of her story arc is that she does contract HIV. And so this is also a character moment for her.
Yes.
Like sort of sympathizing with another person and showing the compassion, which makes sense. I don't have a problem. Obviously, I'm pro like eliminating the stigma about HIV. It just feels there's something about it that feels so heavy-handed in this. Like everything stops, and I don't know that the way the guy acts is like natural. Not the actor is fine, but like they play it so hard because they keep it like I think what I don't like about it is that they make it this like really almost like this little mini mystery in the scene that this guy is freaking out like, no, don't touch me. I'm sick. I'm ill. I'll infect everyone because I'm HIV positive. I have AIDS. Like you have to say both of them to make sure it's crystal clear that you know what it is. And it's just like, it feels so unnatural. And this is the one time this episode where it does feel like it's trying to preach to you in a way that feels demeaning to actual HIV positive people, even though I know that it's coming from a place of compassion saying that like, but it's like, I don't know, because it's something about it feels really weird. I feel like if it was understated, I don't know how you would do it actually. I don't know.
It just feels like the stars should fly across the screen and say, the more you know. It feels after school special. And none of the rest of the episode feels like that, even though
it's weird.
We did education about a DNR earlier that I think was actually really well done.
But it feels normal because it felt for the two things I liked about that scene is that it felt like how a doctor would explain what a DNR is to a patient realistically in that situation. But also the patient is like, yeah, I know what that is. Like, it's fine. So it's like, also not treating it like people are just dumb and don't know basic medical terms too.
Yeah. This was maybe the stinker of the episode for me too. It wasn't even just that it had aged a little poorly, which it has, and all HIV stories have. Like, that's just
sure. It's like I don't like their heart was in the right place, obviously, and it is important.
100%.
I love that they were committed to including that on TV. That it's just like, I don't know. I appreciate the attempt to educate people on HIV stigma, but it doesn't even really do that.
No,
all it is just sort of like, yeah, the guy's bleeding, but the doctors will help him anyway. Like that doesn't really help anything for like an everyday person who's watching, which I think is more important than like the medical professionals who would already know how HIV works.
And I do think it's interesting to have a character go through psychosis while also struggling with other things, including that their blood might be a danger to a medical professional. But I don't know that I'd use that for my educational moment. And that's patients going through psychosis is real and scary, and it does up the stakes. I don't know that I would have chosen that for this, and ultimately that's what we get. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you would fix this. I do think it just doesn't belong in.
No.
I mean, I understand why they want to put it in the episode. They know a lot of people are going to watch.
Yes.
But then it needed to be something really understated. It should not have been this, because this feels like this is also a little mini event within their event.
Yes. It's too much.
I don't like that.
It gets even worse in the West Coast viewing because the prop that he uses to threaten them, which I read as a scalpel, but it was described as a syringe of his blood in the script.
Ew. Okay. This is all feeling really
thank you.
To me. I don't like this. That feels also just like, yeah, his blood is scary, isn't it? Like, what are you doing?
And not for nothing, gang, we don't leave syringes of, I mean, like, there's bad medicine out there. We never leave a syringe of blood.
Jesus. I'm kind of maybe taking back the benefit of the doubt for some of this with that. What are you you talking about?
Yeah. I read it as a scalpel, though, in my viewing.
Yeah.
But in the West Coast version, they didn't set whatever that prop was. And so the actor goes to reach for it. There's nothing there. And he just sort of like waves his hands around.
Oh my God. That's so goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Maybe they should have just... Yeah,
they should just cut that. Just cut it.
They should just cut it.
Give us more Corday being British. Doesn't she say funny things? Tea. Haha.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
We do go back to Theo. His paralysis is progressive. He remains able to speak long enough to say goodbye to his wife or talk to his wife and learn about the kid he saved being okay before they have to intubate him. That it is a nice moment of heroism for a character who ultimately has an unfortunate fate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice, but it's also very upsetting.
It is very upsetting. And we don't get a lot of catharsis. I think there's like this moment of catharsis with this elderly man who's brought in. He's had a heart attack. He's dead.
That's what I was like. There's another one. There's another patient. How much time is left in this fucking episode?
He's dead and they bring him back to life. And then he's kind of like a comic relief character because he's like, I'm fucking all the old ladies in the old folks home. And it's fun because he's saying it directly to camera and that's funny. But then he dies.
Yeah. There's definitely some kind of music playing in the background when Carter's trying to revive him. It's very faint.
Okay.
There is something that I was hearing. Maybe it was in my head, but I swear I was hearing some kind of music because I even like made a note about it. I was just like, that's weird. Why are they playing like sad music happening in the background? But maybe it was meant to be something playing on a speaker somewhere, on a radio somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't clock it.
It's not loud if it's there.
Yeah.
Maybe I also, I don't know. Maybe I'm going through my own form of psychosis right now. I don't know.
The only thing that I really thought, I mean, this is just a normal patient dying, and then Carter was doing more than he should have done. Green yells at him, but there's a moment where the camera lingers on this guest actor who is 81 during filming, and he holds his breath for 11 seconds.
Whoa.
And does not move. And I was like, fuck, man, that's
good for him.
Fucking
that's
impressive.
Incredible
shit right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just a testament to good acting and incredidible craft that went into this episode, which is why, again, I don't think I would, except for the HIV thing, I don't think I'd take anything away from this episode because it does ultimately showcase what incredible art we can make when we put our minds to it.
Uh-huh. I think, actually, I do think this last bit with the old guy is a nice, I think it's really clever narrative flow because all of that happens where Carter, like, kind of fucks up and the guy dies and he's, like, really upset about having lost him because he should have called someone else for help and he didn't because he thought he could be a hero and everything like that. And all that's on camera, which like could get him fired if that comes out, And so Dr. Green's like, okay, this interview that you've wanted from me, the whole reason that you're here that I haven't been giving you, if you get rid of that footage and never do anything with it, I will give you that interview right now. So the episode can then end on Green giving that interview, which is a nice way to close it.
I was attacked myself right here in this hospital. They haven't been able to catch the guy who did it, or at least they haven't been able to charge him. The worst thing about it isn't what it did to me. The worst thing is that it meant that some of the world's violence is leaked into our own ER. This is meant to be a safe place for fixing people. Now it's vulnerable. And as an ER doctor, that's hard to accept.
Sounds frightening. Are you scared?
Sure. Of, losing control.
Control of what's outside?
And what's in me. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Then turn it off.
I really liked that being the tie-up for what we had going on and getting a little bit of Green's trauma out, which I think sets up for the next little story arc that he's got going on.
Sure, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So they still, they still get some season opener-y things into this one, even if it's not really a season opener narratively.
Yeah. It's wild that this happened, but immediately following the end credits, Sarah Edwards, a journalist who appeared on the Today Show, she did some stuff on Nightly News, was the person they had come in, and she just like interviews the cast and interviews the producers. The East Coast version is very short because Tommy Schlamme was like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. I was just sort of like, I know that they technically have 3 hours to get ready for the West Coast version, but that's 3 hours of like resetting everything, changing, cleaning up, like getting back into the headspace of it. Like I wouldn't want to celebrate that much.
Yeah.
After that, when I know I've got another hell and I've got to do this again very shortly after,
Well, and not just that, but as long as a camera was running, they couldn't take a union break.
Really?
Yep. So even behind the scenes features, people start to get snippy, like, finish this interview. We'll get the behind the scenes stuff later. Turn this off.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Makes sense though. Yeah, I this was a really important one to do,
Agreed.
obviously. And I think that, not to restate everything that we've already said, but like it's, I think this is a really interesting one to look at, not just because it's a live episode and that's a gimmick that we had not yet done on our podcast. It's a really important one in the history of TV, but also like, I think this is an example of how doing your sort of high concept idea can maybe negatively affect it narratively. Is not one of the cases where it elevates the narrative like many episodes we've watched, but that doesn't mean artistically that the challenge isn't worth it.
Right.
Because I do think that maybe that's a thing you could argue is missing in television now, where seasons are shorter and shows runs are shorter, that like ER is a show that had hundreds of episodes. They had plenty of room to occasionally go light on the narrative to try something different if they wanted to. And this is a case where they do that, where there is room to be like, look, maybe this isn't the best written episode of television you're ever going to see, but it maybe will be one of the most interesting ones and compelling ones, and from a technical point of view and from an acting point of view and from a structural point of view. And you get to be part of history and sort of be part of this art with us, because by nature of this being a live event and knowing that people are watching you as you're performing it, it suddenly becomes something that the entire audience is also part of making in a way, right? Like that's something that makes stage performance so well, is that like you feed on that energy from the audience. In this case, obviously you can't get live reactions from the audience as you're performing, but knowing that there are millions of people out there watching what you are doing right this second, like as you are doing it, that is a unique type of energy that you can like manifest and that you can put into your work in a way that you aren't necessarily going to be able to. And I think that that's really fucking cool to be able to turn art into a communal thing like that.
And I think you feel it. And I think where I felt it the most, and I don't recommend anyone watch this episode a bunch of times, but if you end up doing that, watch the guest cast, because they truly are.
Sure.
They're doing a play. They're doing like.
Right. Absolutely.
Their community theater, like to the top. It's incredible to watch them.
All the ways that like medical dramas bounce off of me, and that this episode makes me really anxious, and I don't know that I will want to watch it again. If you ask me to like be part of this episode and be one of the bit players in it, I would have such a blast. I would love to do that. It would have to be like, it would be a challenge, but it would be so much fun and such a cool experience.
Yes.
Just to be someone in the background of this going on.
Yeah.
Like it's such a cool experiment and a cool challenge and a cool way to make a piece of art.
Speaking of, and I don't know that we've mentioned it, past guest Daniel Weisberg was a background on The Pit.
No way.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, that rules. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she said it was an incredible experience, just for the reason that you said. Like, it is a challenge, and it's a cool one to have.
That is so cool. That's so cool. Listen to our Rugrats episode from a couple of years ago. To hear from her. She's great. Also, I knew her as a writer. I didn't know she did any acting at all, even as an extra. That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, Derek, well, we've talked a lot about this episode. Anything else to say about Ambush from ER?
It was very, very cool to sort of see this, because I never actually watched it before, but I have known of it forever. So to actually finally engage with this really important piece of television history and like, you know, a TV show that is so important to television history as well. You know, it needed to be done for the podcast, and I'm glad that I did it. It was, I don't want to say that it was a joy to watch it because it's upsetting, but it is a joy to watch something so cool being made right in front of your eyes.
Don't go back to the episode, Derek, but if you watch any behind the scenes, there's one of the things that they captured in the behind the scenes was Tommy Schlamme doing his like last minute speech to like ramp them up right before they go on. And it brought a tear to my, like, I got a little emotional just being like, fuck, they're making like fucking art. That's cool.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That is really cool. They were. It's true.
Oh, all right. Well, Derek, where can folks find more of you and what you do out in the world?
Sure. You can find me in most places at Derek B. Gale. My other podcasts include Walloping Web Snappers, where you look at Spider-Man cartoons, Screonk, where you look at Godzilla films, Falling with Style, where you look at Pixar films, and Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we look at the Simpsons tie-in video games. What about you, David?
Yeah, you can find me online almost anywhere as Dmuma. That's DMUMA. And then I am a host or co-host on a couple other podcasts, including Are You My Mother, where we look at moms in media, Super Mario Moment, where we're looking at Mario in the world, and then Fear Coded, where my friends Marilee and Tyler and I talk about horror media and how gay everything is.
Gimmicks is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you're looking for other queer media podcasts, check out the full roster of Glitterjaw shows at glitterjaw.com. You probably heard a trailer for it at the beginning of this episode, but we do have a new show that we launched as a collective called Glitterjaw Presents, which is a variety feed where anyone from the collective will just jump in and do an episode about literally anything that may or may not have anything to do with podcasts that you have heard on Glitterjaw before. They might be wildly different experiments. There's some ideas.
Yeah.
There are some ideas that are out there. And the way that ER just had a challenge for themselves to do a live episode, we have some ideas for things that may be challenging to do, but I think could be really cool. And it'll be unlike anything you've ever heard on Glitterjaw before. But all coming from the hosts that you know and love in the collective, as well as some other friends.
Of course, if you want to support this show by giving us a little tip, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/gimmickspod. You can also follow the podcast at gimmickspod on Blue Sky and Instagram, and email us with your questions, feedback, and corrections to gimmickspodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all podcast platforms. And until next time, friends,
keep being weird.
Are you a resident in the UK?